stipulating to the 2008 plea agreement had a very specific narrow window of years, I think 3 or 4 years. And so information pursuant to legal process wasn't collected for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. It also, subpoenas were not sent out to hundreds of witnesses at the time, hundreds of victims at the time. None of that was done. None of these people were put in grand juries. And so the totality of information from the jump, instead of being this big, was like this. And that, in my opinion, is not how you run an investigation if you're trying to break a sex trafficking ring.
So you're now in charge of the FBI. Why haven't you done that investigation?
Great question, and here's the answer. Simply because I am not able to go back 20 years and collect information that the courts had decided was already subject to search warrants. They have said, this wasn't the investigation, there's a non-prosecution agreement out of that plea, and when the case was reopened, and this is where it comes into play, when the case was reopened in 2018 and 2019, the search warrants, again, were limited to the conduct of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, whether that's right or wrong, that's a different discussion, but I'm telling you that's the information we reviewed.
Well, I think that is a different discussion, and I think the discussion we'd like to have today is why you aren't following the money with respect to the broader conspiracy that it has been reported in the New York Times and elsewhere, and that if you really want to attack the issue, if you wanted to attack the issue, if you wanted to get to the bottom of it, if you wanted to disclose what really was involved in the Epstein files, the Epstein cover-up, that you would be taking very different actions that you are today. I do want to seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the New York Times September 8th, 2025 article, How J.P. Morgan Enabled the Crimes of Jeffrey Epstein.
Objection.
And also an article dated July 17th, 2025 in the Epstein case, Follow the Money.
Objection.
Okay, thank you.
Gentlelady yields back.
Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you much. Pursuant to Clause 2K6 of Rule 11, I move that the committee subpoena the CEOs of 4 banks, J.P. Morgan, that's Jamie Dimon, Bank of New York Mellon, Robin Vince, Bank of America, Brian Moynihan, and Deutsche Bank, Christian Sewing, in order to get the suspicious transaction reports. These 4 banks have flagged to the government $1.5 billion in suspicious transactions related to the sex trafficking crimes and conspiracy of Epstein, Maxwell, and all of their collaborators. And as you know, Mr. Chairman, we got the SARS reports for Hunter Biden totaling around $20 million. And so these $1.5 billion in SARS reports we should get, especially since the director doesn't seem to be forthcoming. And I request that we do this immediately.
I think the director's been very forthcoming. We will hold any motion to subpoena in abeyance until the conclusion of the hearing. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director Patel, for being here. It is quite clear that certain members of this committee, they want their 15 seconds on TV, stamping and coming. Maybe it's for fundraising. Maybe they're struggling in their district. They need a little bump. But they turn a committee into a clown show, and that's what we're seeing. You're being unjustly attacked today. I watched the Senate hearings yesterday. You were attacked there. We know there's an agenda. There's always an agenda. It's the same characters with the same personalities, the same objective, and that is destroy the mega movement. You're being attacked, Director, is because you're effective. You highlighted what you've been doing in D.C. with the president in reducing violent crime. You're very effective. Another individual that was very effective with meaningful debate and dialogue was Charlie Kirk. And they killed him for it. Charlie Kirk was a man of faith. First and foremost, he loved his Lord Jesus. He loved his family. Beautiful wife, beautiful children. Just a remarkable, honorable man that was silenced with this assassin's bullet. I would say if Charlie Kirk lived in the biblical times, he'd have been the 13th disciple. He'd have been the 13th disciple. We have a new committee, if you're not aware, a new select committee regarding January 6th. I'm honored to be on that committee. I'm looking forward to working with other members to expose truth, questioning federal agencies that were involved on January 6th, like the FBI, played a role, but we don't really know, Director, to what extent. We don't know. The January 6th sham committee was not formed by Nancy Pelosi to seek truth. It was nothing about getting to the truth about January 6th. Their sole mission was to damage Donald J. Trump and end his political career.
Recognize.
Thank you
And
much.
everybody knows. That's
Pursuant
what
to
the
Clause
purpose was.
2K6 of Rule 11, I move that the committee
You know what's nice, so I kind
subpoena
of
the
get to ask the
CEOs
question,
of
though.
four banks,
How did
JP
that work
Morgan,
out for you?
that's Jamie Dimon, Bank of
Donald
New
J.
York
Trump
Mellon,
is back in the White
Robin
House,
Vince.
and America loves him. I spent 30 years in law enforcement, retired sheriff from a large county in the great state of Texas. I have seen, Director, I have seen more enthusiasm and support for law enforcement today because of what you and Donald Trump have done over the last 8 months to protect the American people. The American people couldn't count on their government to protect them. Crime is rampant. And now we have a president and an administration. You know what's nice? So I kind of put the American people in their seat.
JP Morgan, that's Jamie Dimon, Bank of New York
It's interesting, a few minutes ago,
Robin Vince.
a classmate reached out to me and sent me I told him, I said, yes, we got Director Patel in front of our committee today. And Andy Kane wanted me to tell you, he said, quote, tell him we love him. Tell him we love him and all the brave warriors exposing the deep state. Kash, you're a great American, sir. You're a great American. Your work as the director of the FBI is commendable. It's commendable. And I want to thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. Keep up the good fight, brother. Don't let him tear you down. Keep up that good fight. You have it in you. With that, sir, I yield back.
Gentlemen, yield to me. Director Patel, there were 26, the gentleman mentioned the select committee, there were 26 confidential human sources at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. 4 entered the Capitol and thereby broke the law. Do you know if those individuals were being paid by the Ray FBI?
So we've provided 600 pages of documents to this committee alone regarding January 6th. That's 600 pages more than any of my predecessors.
Yep.
Generally speaking, confidential human sources are always paid by the FBI. That's how it works. I can't speak to the specifics on each one and how much they make.
And we appreciate it. We've reviewed some of that material, and you've given us a lot of material that we didn't get from Director Ray. That specific question, I think, is important to the American people. Were people who were confidential human sources of the FBI who broke the law?
Welcome back to the channel.
One was recommended for prosecution, my understanding is, by the information we've received from you. Were they actually paid by the very taxpayers who may have got charged with the same offense? I think that's important for us to understand.
I'll get back to you on that.
Thank you. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from California.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome, Director Patel. I want to focus a little bit on domestic terrorism. We have a graph here, data up to 2021, but as you can tell, domestic terrorism is on the rise.
Hey, man, say Joe.
Nation, our citizens under threat. We
Texas.
saw the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Lucas.
2 assassination attempts on the president. School shooting, Minnesota last month. And closer to home, just a couple of days ago, Huntington Beach, peaceful vigil for Charlie Clark, infiltrated by neo-Nazis who essentially made the local individuals attending that event fear for their safety. All of us know that a lot of these domestic attacks are by lone wolves, but yet they do leave clues, social media or elsewhere. Director Patel, you're it. You're the thin blue line. The FBI, your job to protect our citizens back home from those that would harm us. You have to find the needle in the haystack. Takes a lot of work, a lot of resources. Talking to my local sheriff this morning, who said they're concerned. Federal cuts to local grants that help them do the job. Then, of course, let's not forget about other threats that are coming before us, like high-tech fraud. Local senior recently was talking to me about a text she had gotten, a demand by the IRS to send a payment immediately, or the IRS agents were on their way to arrest this individual. pretty gutsy stuff by folks probably from Europe, North Korea, Russia, China, people, okay, going after those precious savings our senior citizens rely on. Yet the president's proposing a budget cut of $500 million or more to your organization, the FBI. You've said that that'll essentially equate to about 1,300 less jobs at the FBI. So I'm going to ask you essentially, what is it that we can do to help you do your job? Little concerned. Friday Night Lights. One of the events I love to do on Friday nights, go to the local high school football game. Sit there at the stadium and you always say, what if? What if? You're the thin blue line. Can you do your job cutting $500 million from your budget?
Thank you, sir. I think we are doing our job, and the distinction is with the budget that we have, we are flexing more resources to the field. California is receiving the largest FBI plus-up of any state in the union due to that plus-up. They're not getting a reduction. No state is getting a reduction. Every state is getting a plus-up. And so I'm utilizing the money that we have to first plus it up. And the empty vacancies that we have, those haven't been filled in years, not under my leadership.
Here's my concern. You're going to do well. You're doing more with less, is what you're saying. Yet we're about to vote on a budget that has $88 million more to protect members of Congress, the executive branch, and the Supreme Court. There's a contradiction here. Back on Main Street, we're saying you can do more with less, you can protect them with less money, yet here in Washington, we're saying we need more money to protect members of Congress. It's a little contradiction here. Or maybe, sir, you ought to talk to leadership about coming in with your management style to protect the Supreme Court, Congress, and the administration. Otherwise, it's essentially a hypocritical situation. We need more protection, yet folks on Main Street can do with less.
My concern is folks on Main Street. We also were, I think we received over $300 million in a big, beautiful bill, and we're also receiving pots of money from our interagency. So this sort of $500 million cut isn't entirely accurate.
You're still getting cut $200 million plus. You're still moving your agents to do ICE work. So you are leaving a lot of bases uncovered. And I'm not going to be argumentative with you, Director Patel. I'm just saying, if that thin blue line does not hold, people on Main Street will pay the price.
I agree with you, sir.
And I just look forward to working with you because I am very concerned that these kinds of budget cuts are short-sighted, especially when my local sheriff calls me and says, we need more support, and we're looking at budget cuts.
I'll work with you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield time.
Mr. Chairman, I have another unanimous consent
The
request.
gentleman yields back. The gentleman from New York is recognized for unanimous consent.
I seek to introduce a December 2024 OIG report from the Department of Justice, which confirms the conclusion of the Bill Barr Justice Department that the so-called whistleblower, a disgruntled former employee of the Intelligence Committee, was not a credible witness and there were no further actions taken.
Without objection.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to submit some items for the record.
You bet. Gentleman from California.
First one, Trump's deportation diverts FBI agents off child predator cases. Second one, FBI director backtracks on administration's proposed budget cuts. And number three, Trump administration says
I'm working hard to get stuff on the record. Well, I appreciate y'all tapping in on the stream today.
Without objection. Gentleman from
Seeing what Kash
Texas is
Patel
recognized.
talking about before the
Thank you.
Judiciary Committee.
Director, earlier this year, the committee learned of new documents tied to the Crossfire Hurricane investigation and the Russia collusion hoax against President Trump. Your efforts in declassifying key documents tied to this investigation allowed the committee to acquire thousands of pages that it did not have previously. Did any of your predecessors make any effort to declassify these documents?
Not to the extent we have.
Did any of your predecessors share or leak any details that were classified at the time?
There are ongoing leak investigations across the board at the Bureau related to this.
I believe one of those is Mr. Comey, and I thank you for continuing that investigation. Among the declassified documents are the Durham Report Annex, the Crossfire Binder, and the Nellie Orr criminal referral. Could you summarize for those watching what we know about the Russia collusion hoax so far?
Well, sir, I think the record will speak that the Russia collusion matter was perpetrated by a political party to go overseas and obtain information from a foreign intelligence asset, only to have that information, which was demonstrably false, turned over to the FBI, who walked into a federal FISA secret court and asked for a secret surveillance court order and lied to the federal court, and we know that because someone was convicted of it, and only to surveil the political opponent. So that is a massive scandal. We helped expose it. And in terms of the pages of productions, I provided 1,400 pages of production related to Crossfire Hurricane, and my predecessors have provided 0.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate your courage and commitment to declassifying these important documents for our review, and hopefully you'll continue with this commitment. Can we expect to see more declassification efforts regarding the Crossfire Hurricane and Russia collusion hoax?
Yes.
Thank you. I yield the remaining balance of my time to Chairman Jordan.
Oh, I thank the gentleman for yielding. And Director, that's when it all started, right? The whole Russia, that's when it all began. And then it was Mueller, then it was impeachment, then it was Jack Smith and Fonnie Willis and Alvin Bragg and you name it. But it all started then. And that's why I think the gentleman from Texas wants to make sure we get all the information there. And I want to go back to when it was changed. We talked about this earlier. I just want to read to you what the CIA officer said to the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, quote, Brennan refused to remove the dossier, and when confronted with the dossier's main flaws, he responded, yes, but doesn't it ring true? So that's what he initially said. And then when he was talking to this committee, he said the CIA was very much opposed to having any reference or inclusion of the Steele dossier in the intelligence community assessment. So on one hand, you got a witness who was there who said he refused to remove it even though he knew it was garbage. And then he's, on the other hand, telling the committee, no, 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 we didn't want anything to do with it. It shouldn't have been a part of the intelligence community assessment, which we know it was. You know it was. You found that. Those are two entirely different stories. I think Mr. Brennan has some explaining to do, frankly, what happened there. And I think you said earlier that this whole thing, and I think you said to Mr. Gooden, this whole thing is being looked at as part of this grand conspiracy to undermine the president, whether it's Comey, Brennan, Clapper, former head of the Intelligence Committee, now senator from, whoever it is, that's all being looked at. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Well, we appreciate that. And part of what's also being looked at, and I think the gentleman from Wisconsin brought this up earlier, what is a burn bag for, by the way?
What?
Generally speaking, the intelligence community obviously utilizes and possesses classified documents, but drafts of those classified documents and even ultimate finished products of those classified documents have to be recorded and or discarded. And if they are discarded, the only way we do that, the hard copies, is we literally put them in burn bags that are identified specifically for that purpose.
No, this is typically how it ends up going, both sides of the aisle, but Jordan's on his side.
Burn bags are obtained and the material inside is destroyed.
So it's to get rid of the material, right?
Yes, sir.
And
House Judiciary Committee.
it looks like the annex that Mr. Durham in his investigation had was put into a burn bag by your predecessor, I assume, to be destroyed. Is that accurate?
Without getting into the stylization of the evidence, anything that's put in a burn bag is for purposes of destruction.
Do you find that interesting that the Durham annex was placed in a burn bag, that you would discover that when you took over as the head of the FBI?
We found a lot of information in a lot of burn bags.
Well, we appreciate you finding that. We'd like to know a little bit more about that, and we look forward to that information coming forward. And I appreciate the gentleman yielding. With that, we now recognize the gentleman from Colorado.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing. Thank you, Director Patel, for being here today. I have a couple of questions regarding a terrible shooting that occurred in Colorado, a state, as you may know, that I represent. You've testified previously about, I think, what you would describe as your efforts to provide more information regarding the investigation with respect to the horrific assassination of Mr. Kirk. And so, in that same vein, I'm hoping you can provide this committee and my constituents in Colorado with some clarity.
Absolutely.
I think, as my colleagues know, in Evergreen, Colorado, Jefferson County, a county that I proudly represent, at Evergreen High School, a shooter ultimately injured. 2 students were praying for their swift recovery. There's an article here from Colorado Public Radio. The title is, quote, FBI was already investigating an account that may have been linked to the Evergreen shooter. You're familiar with the circumstances generally, Director, regarding this terrible tragedy.
Yes.
So my understanding from the public reporting is that an organization reported to the FBI in July of this year regarding, just reading here from the article, that the FBI opened an assessment into a social media account user whose identity was unknown and who was discussing the planning of a mass shooting with threats nonspecific in nature. This is the FBI's statement to the press. And that the FBI continued to work this assessment investigation to identify the name and location of the user up until September 10th, 2025, which was the day of the tragedy. Can you provide us some clarity on what were the impediments to finding, the account user, and maybe describe in greater detail the FBI's work in that regard?
Generally speaking, yes, because I know even though the shooter's deceased, the investigation we're not done.
Sure.
And so the impediments to finding these individuals, and you highlight a great point. We had 2 huge tragedies in the span of days in this country, the school shooting in Evergreen, Colorado being one of them. And proactively going out onto these social media platforms, which are so large, is our biggest impediment. And we need to rely on the service providers. There's actual legislation, I can't remember the name of it, that's up for renewal, which will, and I think at the end of the month, which gives service providers the ability to report that information in from their end without liability. We need that to continue, because while the FBI has so many people and the police are great at doing it, there's just too many platforms to cover down on.
Well, I appreciate that, Director Patel, and I think we're certainly, I'm interested in continuing this conversation, because I think the reporting suggests that there's a pattern, and that ultimately, we want to make sure that law enforcement is able to prevent this kind of tragedy from happening in the future. I have a question. It's not meant as a gotcha question, so it just frame it there.
I'm way on the juicy
but it is
part of this. I missed some of it
regards
earlier.
to some reporting
No lie.
around periodic transaction report that you had filed earlier, a periodic transaction report that you had filed earlier this year. So this is in July, pursuant to the ethical obligations as a senior executive official.
We're kind of boring.
You remember filing that in July?
Yes.
Yeah. So in that report, as best as I can surmise, you disclosed that you divested, $100,000 or more in a variety of different stocks, which I presume was pursuant to the ethics.
Johnny Five, what's good, baby?
The Department of Justice. In that same report, there's a disclosure regarding purchases of 2 different transactions. So between $15,000 to $50,000 in a national coffee house chain, and between $50,000 to $100,000 in a semiconductor company on May 9th and May 12th. Are those transactions that you're doing personally, or are these through a stockbroker, or are these transactions that you're handling yourself?
So how they happen is I submit proposals under DOJ guidance to say, hey, I would like to trade this or that, and they run their review, and the FBI runs a review, and then they come back and say yes or no, and then I make the transaction.
Is there a reason that you decided to make the purchases into those 2 companies?
Generally speaking, before I got this job, I was, trading stocks, but not a lot like most people, and I just follow certain industries, and I thought they would be a good investment.
So the reason why I ask, right, because you had divested in other companies, and I presume that wasn't because there were actual conflicts. It's just that you wanted to avoid an appearance of impropriety.
It was both.
Both, but not all of the companies were conflicts.
Whatever they make
divested from.
I don't make the call, they make the call.
Sure.
Yeah.
I guess my point would be, the reason why I ask this, why I said it's not a gotcha question, I have for years led an effort here in Congress to try to ban members of Congress, senior executive officials, from trading stocks. And it's bipartisan in nature. We're working really hard to get that done, Republicans and Democrats.
That's needed. It's needed.
You can understand, I think, given your role, given the nature of the position that you hold as the leader of the largest law enforcement agency in our country, that divesting entirely, not doing day trading now, I think would be something that would be in the interest of the American people. So I just would hope you would consider that, and that
They're not
moving
releasing
forward,
Epstein files now,
that
man.
perhaps not purchasing stocks in
Not
individual
after Kurt.
companies, I would think would be something that would be worth pursuing.
Gentleman's time is...
I'm happy to give the witness an opportunity to answer.
Thank you. I'll work with you on it.
Gentleman from...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Easy
Thank
off,
you,
man.
Director Patel,
You don't
for
want to
being
talk
here
about the
today.
stocks.
Newly declassified documents confirm that the intelligence community under President Barack Obama, knowingly relied on
Want
unverified
a little
and
fitter
fraudulent
fitness?
evidence to manufacture a
I'm on
false
East
claim
Coast.
that Russia, in fact, meddled in the
Good
2016
afternoon,
election.
man. Good morning, good afternoon,
Is
everybody.
there more to
Tapping
be
in for stream
done
today,
to
man. Hold
uncover
on,
the
man.
depths and origins of the Russian
Good,
collusion?
good, Congressman. If it's the first time here, I am a hip-hop lobbyist. Professional lobbyist in the state of Florida, and this is my YouTube channel. Today, we're streaming Kash Patel's testimony before Congress. I actually have a client call coming in. I'm going to make this full screen, and I'll be back.
As I said so, but because we found the FISA documents, because we found the 302s and the 1023s, then it becomes a political football. My job is to continue to put out that information and let the American public read it for themselves when I'm lawfully able to do so. And that's been my commitment on any subject, Russiagate or otherwise. Wherever the law allows me to do it, I will do it.
You know, when I first came in 2020, the number one concern as I was doing town halls was the weaponization of the government against the American citizen. And so are there things that you're doing, structural reforms that implementing so that the FBI cannot be weaponized again, whether it's against President Trump or future elected presidents?
It shouldn't be weaponized against anyone. And the structural reform is simple. If you're going to go after a political individual or someone seeking political office, there has to be a grounded basis in law and fact to open up a criminal investigation. And if there's not, the investigation isn't even opened. And I've also gone back and reviewed other cases that were opened in prior administrations related to public officials. And we've closed a number of them because we felt that some of these actions were weaponized on either side of the aisle. I felt it wholly inappropriate for the FBI to be playing umpire and referee amongst these decision makers when there was no factual or legal basis to continue those investigations, so I shut them down.
And I think that's so desperately needed because we need to restore trust in law enforcement and certainly in the DOJ and the FBI so that the American people don't fear the very government that's supposed to protect them. And so thank you for doing that. On August 11th, you released to the committee documents concerning leak investigations that began in 2017. You believe these leaks were accidental or were they intentional in order to influence public opinion against President Trump?
When I can publicly make a final decision on that, either through a recommendation of charging that the DOJ makes or findings that I have, I'm able to do so, but they're still not complete.
Why did the FBI under Director Comey want to undermine the Trump administration?
I don't know, you'll have to ask him.
Think it might have been political? How will Director Comey be held accountable for his leaks and classified information concerning the Russian collusion hoax?
Well, anyone. Doesn't matter what you did before or what seat you were in. If you leak classified information, that's illegal. And we will investigate it fully. And if we can bring enough evidence to recommend charges to the Department of Justice, we will. But as you know, in these leak investigations, it's very difficult to produce the information necessary. We know leaks happen. They literally happen every week. It's one of the most destructive things to this country. Media receives classified information beneficial to one side or the other. I'm a fan of none of it, and I want to shut all of it down. And we need to bring some real cases to deter individuals from doing that, and that's my focus.
What was Comey's role in creating the ICA?
Oh,
You know, speaking from my memory, as the head of the FBI, he was charged under then Director Brennan and Director Clapper and the other IC elements to come in with the NSA, CIA, FBI, and ODNI and put together a collection of information on how the information sort of surrounding Russiagate came together. So he represented the FBI in that.
Was former Director of CIA, John Brennan, he's denied that the Steele dossier was used in creating the ICA. Is that true?
Well, it's, without commenting on him, the FISA has been released, and the dossier was in the FISA. It was in 4 FISAs.
that was wild.
I'll let the public decide.
Well, former Director Brennan actually denied repeatedly that he pushed for the Steele dossier to be included in the ICA. Is that true?
Did not. I'll let his testimony speak for itself, but then Deputy Director Andy McCabe also testified to the House Intelligence Committee, which has now been declassified, that were there no Steele dossier, there would have been no FISA.
Well, my time's getting close, but let me tell you this, sir, and well, my colleague from Texas said, thank you for the job you're doing. You're making the American people safe. You're restoring trust in these agencies that so many of us had lost trust in. So thank you for the work you're doing. That thin blue line, you're doing a fine job, and we want to let you know we appreciate it. Thank you. God bless you.
Lady from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you Director, for coming here today, and actually thank you for your response to my colleague from New York who asked you earlier about violent extremism, and you said that there is violent extreme ideology on both sides, and I think you actually alluded to that same statement yesterday in the Senate. So I too have some questions I'd like to ask you. These are not gotcha questions, and just deny, please, what you deem to
hold
be
on.
false.
You got some technical difficulties.
So Dylan Roof,
Hold on. My bad, chat. There we go. Why is it blacking out? Here we go.
who followed white supremacist propaganda, murdered 9 black parishioners in Charleston in 2015. Do you deny
I'm
this?
bad on that, chat.
I'm sorry. Dylan Ruth?
Roof?
Can you give me some more information?
You're head of the FBI, you probably know this. If you don't know, that's fine.
You can give me a reminder. I've got a lot in front of me.
It was national news. Robert Bowers murdered 11 Jewish worshipers in Pittsburgh in 2018.
I do remember that.
And it was the deadliest anti-Semitic attack. So do you admit that that happened?
Yeah, I'm not saying the other thing didn't happen. I'm just asking for a little information.
Patrick Cruces, who posted a manifesto about a Hispanic invasion, walked into a Walmart in El Paso, Texas in 2019 and began firing. He murdered 23 people that day, and the youngest was 15. Do you admit or deny that that happened?
I'll take your presentation as accurate.
All right, well, I have to say all of these cases have been adjudicated. As I said, they are not gotcha questions. These incidents were national news.
This is live, Pam.
And as director of the FBI, you have access to all of this information. So in 2022, Peyton Grendon walked into a supermarket in a black neighborhood in Buffalo, New York, and started shooting. He murdered 10 people that day. And on September 10th, your friend Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Tyler Robinson has been taken into custody and charged, but also on that day, Desmond Holley, a 16-year-old white male, shot and injured 2 students at a high school in Colorado before killing himself. And according to the Anti-Defamation League, he had a fascination with mass shootings and white supremacy. So do you admit to, deny these facts?
Those happened.
Okay. Your predecessor, former FBI Director Christopher Wray, said that one of the most dangerous concerns is that racially motivated violent extremism, especially white supremacists, has been the biggest chunk of our domestic terrorism cases and is responsible for the most lethal attacks over the last decade. Do you admit or deny, A, that he said this?
I'll let the record reflect that. Whatever he said was what he said.
All right, and do you agree?
That there is racially motivated crimes being committed in America, yes.
Yes, especially white supremacists, which is the biggest chunk of our domestic terrorism. I'm glad that you said this. So last week,
Wait a minute.
President Trump was asked if there were...
I'll be respectful, and I don't like to normally pause the stream. But the Congresswoman did say she's going to start with not a lot of gotcha questions. And outside of Dylan Roof, it seemed more like gotchas because he wasn't briefed on it. Even Dylan Roof, she could have paused for a second and said, hey, Emmanuel 6, the massacre that happened in South Carolina, the man went and prayed with these parishioners, and he ended up killing them on the justice of him thinking that he wanted to start a race war. And then Charlottesville happened years later, we're here, and race is still the issue. So I think that there was a good way, but that is a good gotcha question. But to pause it here, if you're first time here, I am the hip hop lobbyist again, professional lobbyist in the state of Florida. This is my stream, and we're watching the House Judiciary Committee with Kash Patel. I do think that those were some gotcha questions, to be fair, right? I'm a Democrat for what it is, but I'm moderate. So Republicans don't come after me. A lot of them love me. But regardless of it, thank you for tapping in today on the phone, on the stream today on YouTube. We may go live on TikTok and Twitch later. If you want to expand, look at the canvas. I may open up another YouTube channel as well, another YouTube stream as well. But either way, thank y'all for tapping in. This is only the beginning. Have to get my son from daycare around 4 o'clock. So maybe we'll be here the next 3 hours. You never know. But either way, I want to stop here. Maybe do some Charlie Kirk, some Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens. The conservatives are spiraling right now. But we'll see what's next. Let's get back to this. Because we have to get my girl Jasmine Crockett. I know my girl Jasmine Crockett is going to light, not Kash Patel on fire, but it's going to be a very enlightening conversation.
Extremists on both the left and the right. He was actually asked this by Fox and Friends, and his exact words were, "I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime. The radicals on the left are the problem, and they're vicious, and they're horrible, and they're politically savvy." Do you agree with the president?
I don't speak for the president. The president speaks for himself.
Do you agree with the president?
I don't. On what matter?
On the question that I just asked, do you agree with his statement about the radical left?
That there's ideology that's driving violence on both sides? Yes, that's what he acknowledged.
No, he didn't. He didn't. But I'm glad that you're saying that and actually creating some separation between you and the president. And I'm glad that you
That's literally
are
not what happened. He said
acknowledging
both.
that there is violent extremism on both sides. What's interesting is that the research arm of the Department of Justice, the National Institute of Justice, do you know what that is?
I'm familiar with them.
Okay, great. It is the research arm of the Department of Justice, and it published an article in 2024 devoted to domestic radicalization, violent extremism, and terrorism. I have it. It's interesting that it's no longer on the website. It has been scrubbed, but I ask these questions because what makes a strong, qualified director of any business, of any household, of the FBI, what makes a reputable prosecutor is not lapdog loyalty, but a commitment to the creed that evidence is agnostic and that the evidence will lead you to making the right decisions. And your job, no one's job is to like the data or the evidence, it is to collect it. That is how you gain trust. And Mr. Chair, I would like to enter into the record, if I may. White supremacist group stands by racist ideology with unanimous consent.
Without objection.
Dylan Roof, the
Hold on. I
radicalization
see
of the
brother next to it
alt-right
just
and
texting, all right.
ritualized racial violence.
Without objection.
These are members of Congress. Two phones.
Another article, how Robert Bowers went
One for
from
the plug and one
conservative
for
to
the-
white nationalist. I'd like to enter that into the record with me.
Without objection.
Patrick Cruces believed he was fulfilling Trump's wishes in El Paso attack, his attorneys said. I'd like to enter into the record.
Without objection.
Buffalo shooting,
y'all.
how far-right killers are radicalized online. I'd like to enter that into the record.
Without objection.
Evergreen high school shooters online activity reveals fascination with mass shootings, white supremacy. I'd like to enter that into the record.
Without objection.
Murder and extremism in the United States in 2024, a report by the Anti-Defamation League. I'd like to enter that into the record.
Listen, to be
And the
fair,
article, the report that was scrubbed from the
I'm just gonna mute her because she got to say all this to get it on the record, right? Let me switch this over a little bit. So, no, F all that. Somebody elected her to Congress. There's a part of America that is happy with this kind of representation, and they are celebrating like, you know what, this is exactly what I wanted. But my biggest thing is, to be real, you said there were going to be no gotcha questions, nothing for the media. And I actually went in with this to say, you know what, I think she's going to be for real. And then she just flipped it and had some gotcha questions. But these next rounds should be very favorable for Kash. They balance it out, Republican, Democrat. But let's see what Ms. Congresswoman Hagman has to say.
Transparency that was absolutely non-existent in the Biden administration and FBI. I believe that you might have been asked earlier about whether you had had an opportunity to visit with any of Epstein's legal counsel. Were you asked that question earlier?
I think so.
Okay. One of the legal counsels or legal fixers for Mr. Epstein was Stacey Plaskett, the Democrat delegate to Congress from the Virgin Islands. So perhaps for those on the other side who are interested in talking to Jeffrey Epstein's attorneys, they could sure visit with one of their own colleagues. I want to focus on something that I think is very important that has not been addressed enough today, and that is related to the consequences of the Biden open border. One consequence of the Biden border crisis is the impact that it continues to have on our tribal communities, with the cartels taking advantage of our open borders, the Mexican drug cartels, by infiltrating our reservations and bringing violence, drugs, murder, trafficking, and more. Last year, when I questioned the Attorney General Garland about what the DOJ was doing to protect these communities, he simply deflected responsibility and said that Congress had not appropriated sufficient resources for them to be able to protect our tribal communities. Mr. Patel, what is the Trump FBI doing to counter the drug cartel infiltration and other violent crime targeting our Native American communities?
Thank you. It only took more than half of this proceeding to talk about one of the priorities that the FBI has, which is crimes on tribal lands. Every single crime that we have been talking about, whether it's child predators, human trafficking, narco traffickers, murder, they all happen on tribal lands as well. And I've said since the beginning, it is a priority, which is why we launched Operation Not Forgotten.
Everybody be calling me Kanye, bro.
And I'm
Y'all
the
be
first
wildin'.
FBI director to meet with
like
staff,
Kanye at
tribal
all.
leaders here in Washington, D.C. and elsewhere, and invited them into my office and headquarters to see them, because I need engagement with tribal leadership, and I need our police and FBI agents to be engaging with tribal leadership. Otherwise, we're not going to break through. We have 1,900 Indian country cases open right now. We've got 600 indictments this year alone. We cannot forget tribal lands. Every single one of those people lives in the United States of America, and it is an absolute priority to protect them and their children just as it is anyone else.
So I think it's fair to say that what Mary Garland testified to, that the FBI and DOJ did not have the resources to address that. I think that that was an absolutely false statement. Would you agree with me?
It's a decision by him not to do so. That's not my decision.
At the end of August, the U.S. Attorney and FBI announced that nearly 100 personnel representing members of the Safe Trails Task Force operated near Wyoming's Wind River Reservation to assist with reducing drug trafficking and illegal guns. Director Patel, you have routinely stated that it is your mission to partner with and strengthen local and state law enforcement partners. How does the task force and other FBI efforts bring tribal law enforcement into this process?
The major problem with tribal lands is the sheer tyranny of geography and the amount of coverage that they have on land versus the personnel they have
This
to
chat
do it.
popping
So
off. I'm
what
reading the
we've
chat
done
right now.
is constantly surge resources to tribal lands across this country on a 30, 60, 90-day rotating basis, reporting back to us saying who needs more. And what we found is that most of these lands can be assisted by our counter-UAS program, our drone capabilities, and we're going to do it because what's happening is the Mexican drug cartels are literally flying overhead, dropping their cargo, their narcotics onto this land where no one's looking, and then it's being disseminated to children, to youth, to adults on that land, and killing them. And we got to
Kash ain't
stop
black.
it
Yeah,
before
Kash
it
ain't
gets
black.
dropped off.
But all
Well,
ass ain't
and
Patel.
your testimony proves that the Biden administration did not lack the resources to address drug and violent
Give me a
crime
couple minutes, y'all.
in tribal communities or around the United States. It instead expended and wasted these resources investigating parents, Catholics, we now find out Turning Point USA, the RNC, and Republican organizations, rather than protecting our Native Americans by closing the border. Is that fair?
I think so.
Wonderful, thank you. And I do appreciate the work that you've done in this regard. I was previously the chairman of the subcommittee on Indian and Insular Affairs with the Natural Resources Committee, and safety and security on our reservations and for our tribal members has been one of our priorities, one of my priorities, and I very much appreciate the work that the FBI has done. Let me know if there's anything else I can do to help you, and with that, I yield back.
I will, ma'am.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentlelady from Georgia is recognized.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for coming in today, Mr. Patel. In the past few months, the country has experienced a string of horrific, high-profile attacks that have been motivated by racial hatred or political ideology. Shooter attacked the CDC headquarters, firing hundreds of rounds and killing a police officer. An arsonist set fire to the Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro's residence, with the governor and his family actually inside. Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband were assassinated earlier this year. Clark and Charlie Kirk was murdered last week. Bomb threats have been made against HBCUs and the DNC, and just the list goes on and on. I only have just a few minutes today, so I don't want to take a lot of time to go into all the countless and devastating violent crimes and incidents that have happened at our schools or on our streets and in our communities that have just been happening all year long. Mr. Patel, just yes or no, is this type of political violence ever acceptable in your eyes?
No.
I'm glad that we agree that these heinous acts designed to instill fear and division in our nation are never, ever acceptable, yet each of these incidents has recently taken place under your watch. The FBI's website states that protecting the United States from terrorist acts is the FBI's #1 priority, including from domestic terrorists. Is this still your #1 priority?
Domestic terrorism?
Preventing domestic terrorism.
Our #1 priorities are protecting the homeland and international terrorism and crushing violent crime, and domestic terrorism sort of interlays between both of those.
Okay, so, well, then I'm glad that you're giving us the right answer, but unfortunately, your actions kind of tell a different story. Earlier this year, you granted the ranks of the FBI's Domestic Terrorism Operations Section. This is the section of the FBI that is most directly responsible for addressing political violence in our country by preventing attacks from occurring and effectively responding to them if they do. The agents in this section are the ones who stopped an individual stockpiling weapons, who plan to attack schools and churches in Florida and seize bombs made by an ISIS sympathizer in New Orleans. And instead of ensuring that this section has all the resources that it needs at a time when its mission is critical, you fired its decorated veteran FBI agents who have served their country proudly under Republican and both Democratic presidents, and you scrapped the tools that they developed to fight domestic terrorism, including the National Domestic Terrorism Incident Database.
You went to reading the
Most
sheet
of
and
that is
Rosa
just
Martin
not
and
true.
even
We have
Dr.
1,700 current D2
Michael
managed
Eric Thesaurus
programs. We're
Dyson.
up 300% in the amount of cases we brought against nihilistic, violent extremists, including 764, wishing to harm our children. The FBI and the men and women are getting after that problem set more than ever because I've unleashed them to do so. And any situation that these tragic occurrences across the country are somehow singularly my fault or disgusting because that watershed goes
Mr.
down to the
Patel,
men
I'm
and
gonna
women at the
reclaim my time.
FBI,
Mr.
and
Patel, I'm
they
gonna
are not
reclaim my time.
responsible
Here we
for
go.
it. I'm happy to work with you to get
Here
them
we
what they
go.
need.
Consent
Gentlelady
request.
controls the time. Unanimous consent request. She'll state a request.
Thank you very much. Into the record, an article from Reuters titled FBI Scales Back Staffing,
Rocket.
Tracking of Domestic Terrorism, Probes Sources Say.
Time
Thank you very
reclaimed.
much. I appreciate that. So, Mr. Patel, and it isn't just the Domestic Terrorism Operations Section. Under your watch, agents are fully diverting their attention to these anti-immigrant and city takeover operations, leaving our children vulnerable to dangerous networks of online predators, both domestic and international. You pulled more than
Nate, this is
120
what people voted for,
FBI
man.
agents from their normal duties to operate sobriety checks and conduct traffic stops, exposing the FBI's fleet of unmarked cars and thereby making it harder for the FBI to combat violent criminal gangs, foreign intelligence services, and drug traffickers in the process.
That's simply not true. If we were not able to do two things at one time, how would we be
Patel, I
seizing
reclaim
record
my
amounts of
time. I reclaim my
fentanyl?
time.
23,000
Ooh. I'd like to
violent
enter
felons have been
into the
arrested.
Time belongs to the gentlelady.
More than twice as many as
Consent
last
Time
year.
belongs to the gentlelady from Georgia.
Thank you very much.
Hey, time being reclaimed right here, y'all. That's two.
It is an article from Reuters which quotes law enforcement officers familiar with agents who once covered child exploitation cases but now focus on immigration.
Clock it.
Exclusive. Thousands of agents diverted to Trump immigration track down. Mr. Patel, in the short time I have left, your tenure as director of FBI has been somewhat problematic. Americans are left safe, definitely less safe under your watch. You have gutted the FBI's ability to keep safe from domestic terrorism. You have sent FBI agents to conduct traffic stops and round up hardworking immigrants who pose no danger to public safety, people even President Trump referred to as good longtime workers. Your job is to protect and serve the American public.
Time to the
You have
gentlelady.
spent your time protecting heinous individuals and using the FBI to serve as a political circus.
Only because somebody asked, I'm going to stop for Congresswoman Lucy McBeth, and she is not, as somebody just commented, Jasmine Crockett's mother. She's actually Jordan Davis's mother. Who was a young black gentleman in his car chilling with his homeboys at a gas station, and a man walked up and shot him dead in the car, drove home and ate a pizza with some beer and a Pepsi and called it a night. She moved from Jacksonville and ended up going to Georgia and running for Congress. That's her story. Google it. Look into it. Everything's not about race, but some people do have a passion on why they run, and gun violence and things of that nature and crime are Lucy McBeth's passion. I have to salute her for what she does, but I saw that comment, I had to pause it real quick because I just can't have the misinformation out there or just the I don't have nothing to say, so I'm gonna just throw some bullshit in my chat feed out there. But either way, I appreciate y'all tapping in. It is your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist. Make sure you like and subscribe. I think we're almost at 5,500 subscribers. I appreciate y'all if we can get there. But either way, let's get back to this meeting with the FBI Director Kash Patel.
You at times have appeared unequivocally.
Oh, sorry.
Gentlelady yields back.
May I respond?
Sure can.
Simply put, what is it? Are we failing? If we're failing, how are we arresting 23,000 violent felons? Twice as many as this time last year.
Oh,
shit. Are we
shit.
failing? Because if we're failing, how are we seizing 1,500 kilograms of meth, 25% increase from last year?
Oh, shit.
Are we failing?
Oh,
Because we
shit.
captured 4 top 10 FBI most wanted from around the world in 7 months. That's more than the entirety of the last administration.
Black King.
Are we
Clock
failing?
it.
Because we put 1,500 child predators in prison. Are we failing? Because we dismantled 300 human trafficking networks. Which is it? You don't like me, that's fine. But don't you dare disparage the men and women of the FBI that are producing record results in historic fashion to protect this country. They are kicking ass for America, and they're going to continue to do so.
Oh, clock it. We got to clock it on that one. That was a good clap back. Lucy McBeth got 2. Kash
When I was
Patel
home
1. That was a good
recently,
battle.
I
I like that
met
one.
with
Great
the
debate.
agents
Great
leading the
debate.
Tampa office of the FBI, and I saw what they're focused on in my community: stopping drug traffickers, rescuing children from exploitation, fighting
What is up
cybercrime,
with this, man?
protecting
What-
us from acts of terrorism, foreign and domestic. And I know from my time as a federal prosecutor and a judge that this work by the Bureau doesn't make headlines, but it is happening every single day. At the top, accountability is necessary,
Give me 1 second, I'll
transparency
make a
is
call.
critical, but today we've seen
Work
an
day too, you
effort
feel me?
not just to diminish, but to distort the work of Director Patel and the agents he leads. If we really care about transparency and about truth, then what we owe to the American people is this reality: that thousands of dedicated professionals at the FBI wake up every single day thinking not about themselves, but about this country, and keeping every single one of us and our children safe from harm. And Director Patel, I would like to hear from you the facts about what the FBI is doing and your efforts to fight crime. Director Patel, isn't it correct that since January 20th, 2025, the FBI has made over 25,000 immigration-related arrests, including 350 members of Tren de Aragua and 195 members of MS-13?
Those numbers are accurate. The Tren de Aragua numbers are up over 350% from the year before.
And during that same period, hasn't the FBI seized over 66,000 kilos of cocaine, 6,000 kilos of meth, and 1,500 kilos of fentanyl?
Not to be nitpicky, but it's 89,000 kilos of cocaine and 7,300 kilograms of meth.
And isn't it also true that the FBI Tampa Division's Panama Express Strike Force specifically seized nearly 67,000 kilos of cocaine valued at more than $1.6 billion from illicit maritime vessels?
One of our best operations out of the Port of Tampa, and I was down there in South Florida
See.
when Panex did their work.
Director Patel, since October 7th, 2023 Hamas attack, the FBI has been a co-leader of the Joint Task Force October 7th. Isn't it correct that this task force is actively working to bring justice for victims and to prevent terrorist infiltration at our borders?
Yes, ma'am.
Since January 20th, hasn't the FBI arrested 59 foreign intelligence operatives for spying or smuggling dangerous material into the United States?
Yes, we have, and that's on track to be more than 25% than ever before.
And the FBI has also been leading operations against major cyber threat actors.
So you got to be fair here. To be fair, Republicans have Congress. I'm going to mute the Congresswoman here. We know this is the part of the show where it's like, you know what? Hey, we're going to attack you a little bit for our leftist positions, our Democratic positions. Then the right side is just basically going to, gas it up. And there are more of them. So Kash is really in a comfortable area. He only knows, okay, cool, I only got about 12 of these rough situations for 2 or 3 minutes to spar back and forth. We've seen it yesterday. I didn't actually watch the Senate confirmation yesterday or the Senate meetings, but that should be interesting for me to go back and watch either that or even on this. But either way, it's just interesting to see that people really get upset about the narratives. Like people mad about the Democrats saying their piece. Like he can't just walk in. You're not going to have an FBI director ever walk in and neither party is straight attacking them unless we have a national disaster or natural disaster or a 9/11. Which I don't wish upon our country at all, just to be fair. But let's get back to the Congresswoman again. Appreciate y'all tapping in.
DNA profiles and aids more than 125 investigations each day. Director Patel, why is this important to law enforcement nationwide?
All of law enforcement relies on our CJIS operation out of West Virginia. And what that does is allow 19,000 agencies to come in and say, hey, does this guy have a criminal history? Hey, is this an illegal firearm? Do we have a DNA hit like we did in these recent assassinations? That's what the FBI brings to bear, because local and state law enforcement agencies just don't have that capability, and we're doing it 24/7, 365. CJIS does not close for 1 minute.
In your testimony, you noted that the FBI has ongoing counterintelligence investigations into China, Iran, and Russia across all 55 field offices. Why is it essential to maintain that scope of coverage, and what success can you point to in disrupting nation-state actors?
Our biggest threats involving nation-state actors are the PRC, Russia, and China, and they are up 33%, 83%, and 60% respectively in arrests alone this year. Those nation-state actors wish to do harm in our infrastructure, our critical infrastructure system, our energy, our water supply, and also go after and target individuals and senior citizens and take their money through online pig butchering schemes, which we've exposed in Cambodia by way of the CCP. This is groundbreaking work that the American public should be seeing that their FBI is doing, and I'm happy to have the opportunity to report on it.
Thank you, Director Patel. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. The gentlelady from
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple.
Unanimous Consent.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. In response to Mr. Patel's making the remarks that, that maybe our colleagues are disparaging the men and women of the FBI, I'd like to enter the record 3 unanimous consent requests. One is entitled FBI using polygraphs to test officials' loyalty. The second is Kash Patel knowingly broke law when firing top officials, lawsuit alleges, published by NBC. And the third is FBI forces out more leaders, including ex-director who fought Trump, demand for January 6 agents' names.
Without objection.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Patel, thank you for being with us today. Appreciate your time. Let me say at the top, political violence should have no place in this country, and I strongly, unequivocally condemn the killing of Charlie Kirk last week. And this is exactly the kind of case that warrants a swift and thorough investigation by the FBI. What shouldn't be happening, however, is this administration's seeming attempt to exploit Mr. Kirk's death within minutes of this horrible, horrible assassination, dividing us even further without knowing enough about the killer's complicated, confused political ideology and the extent of his motivation. And this week, Vice President Vance claimed that this is, quote, an extremely destructive movement of left-wing extremism, and said that, quote, it's part of the reason why Charlie was killed. He pledged to go after organizations on the left. But Director Patel, it was just 3 months ago that Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, and her husband, Mark, were shot to death in their home in the middle of the night by a self-identified right-wing extremist and Trump supporter. When that assassination happened, the FBI released a written statement denouncing the killings and pledging to hold the killer accountable. And I thank the Bureau for that. It was clear, concise, to the point. But when you compare that statement to the over 50 mentions of the Charlie Kirk killing and just 4 for the Hortmans on accounts affiliated with the FBI and your personal account, it appears to many Americans that you're valuing some lives more than others, and that's painful. And this is what I'm hearing from my constituents, so I just want to convey that to you. And the Vice President didn't even call on right-wing organizations to tone down their rhetoric after that horrific killing in Minnesota, and he never once spoke about dismantling conservative institutions. This week, when the president was asked by a reporter about Speaker Hortman, he claimed he didn't even know who she was. One of the most high-profile assassinations of an elected official in recent memory, and the president claims to know nothing about it, hasn't even heard of it.
That's fucked up.
It was absolutely devastating for her colleagues and for her family. And I think we all can agree in this room that we have to stop this political violence. So my first question to you is, Director Patel, what is your plan as director of the FBI to turn down the temperature, especially in light of the fact that it seems like members of the administration are reacting to political violence based on party affiliation. What's your plan?
I can only speak for myself and the
Of course.
FBI. And what we are doing is, I think I mentioned earlier, we're following the money, because whatever attack you are describing, and they are all despicable, equally so, people need money to operate. People need money to conduct these attacks, to conduct these investigations. And so what we are doing is finding the people that supported this infrastructure system, because even when you say there's a lone, quote unquote, lone wolf actor, he's not truly a lone wolf actor. Something happened along the way.
I agree. And so can I just because we have such little time, are you making a commitment right now to follow where the evidence goes in investigating whether it's violence on the left or the right? Because over the last 10 years, when you look at the ideology, I want to follow up on what my colleague from California said. When you look at the data, you look at the Anti-Defamation League data, 96% of ideological motivated killings were committed by the right wing. When you look at the Institute of Justice report that she cited, it's 5 times the number that 5 times the number of far left extremist incidents are perpetrated by far right. And it's been reported, and she mentioned this, that as of September 12th, 2025, just 2 days after Charlie Kirk's killing, that the DOJ removed that report from the DOJ website. That's why Americans are concerned that there seems to be a separate system of justice, that if you are a Republican and you are attacked, you will get the full weight and authority of the FBI and this administration. But if you are somebody serving in the Minnesota State Legislature and you are assassinated in your home, that the response is different. And I think to ignore the threats from the right or try to do a both and when there are multiple instances when it's overwhelmingly coming from the right, this is a disservice, because Americans want to know that whoever they are, whatever their political affiliation, that the response is going to be the same, and it is going to be done with the same diligence. And I'm wondering if you will commit to me right now that you will be a voice right now standing up to those voices in the administration that are adding to the violent rhetoric right now. That's what I'm asking you. Will you commit to this?
Time the gentlelady has expired. The gentleman can respond.
My voice will be through the investigations that the FBI conducts, and we will conduct them all lawfully and equally.
Can we expect in the future that your tweets in related to one killing will be the same level of concern?
The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, sir. Director Patel, thank you for being here today, and most importantly, thank you for restoring trust and faith in the FBI, which has been severely eroded under the Biden administration. Thank you for your service and your continued service in this capacity. On April 7th, 2025, Charlie posted on X, "Assassination culture is spreading from the left. 48% of liberals say it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk. 55% say the same about Donald Trump. And California activists are naming ballot measures after Luigi Mangione. The left is being whipped into a violent frenzy and set back. Whether losing an election or losing a court case justifies a maximally violent response," end quote. And unfortunately for Charlie, that reaction also came when they couldn't win a debate on a college campus. You cannot be intellectually honest and say that this problem is on both sides. It's not just what happened to President Trump, it's also what just happened to Charlie. And we've gotten to a point in America where violence is encouraged. We have a former president of the United States that opens up his campaign in 2019, that's Joe Biden, by saying that his opponent is a, quote, existential threat to this country. Houston, we have a problem. People that you disagree with are not existential threats. They are not Nazis. They are not fascist. They are not racist. They are not deplorable. They are not irredeemable. They are your fellow Americans who have a different perspective on how government should run and what government should look like. Whether or not we should have strong sovereign borders, whether or not we should have safe communities, whether or not we should have places to worship our God and not worry about being shot, whether or not we live in communities and cities that are not overwhelmed by drugs and crime, whether or not we have two genders, and whether or not we have common sense in our policies and our values. And people that believe these things are not existential threats. I happen to be one of these people that believes all of the above, and as someone that served this country in combat, I can assure you I am not an existential threat to this country because I swore to protect her. I also want to point out, how many cities have you seen burned to the ground since Charlie Kirk's death? 0. No summer of love, no riots, no nothing, no looting, no killing, none. We simply gathered and prayed for his soul, his family, and this country, because that's exactly what we represent. And while we might be angry, this righteous anger will carry on Charlie's message and legacy. I want everybody to know something very simple. Charlie is not dead because of what he said. He is dead because people listened. My time is limited, so I have a few questions for you, sir. And again, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate your time and your service. In your experience in the FBI, have you noticed a precipitous rise in political violence and other associated crimes that you have been investigating so far this year? And if so, is this trend in motive left-wing or right-wing violence?
I can always speak generally, sir. There is too much political violence, and it has been a precipitate rise on too many fronts.
How do we solve this?
We solve this by giving the FBI more authorities to go into and work with the private sector. There are too many online platforms. There are too many social media platforms. There are too many gaming platforms. There are too many places for people from America and around the world to get together without their parents knowing anything about it, without their school teachers knowing anything about it, and infesting the minds of our children and infecting them with radical ideology, and with that is the root cause of these problems, and we must tackle it. It is not a 1950s America anymore. In 2025, the cyberspace needs to be tackled.
Thank you. Switching gears, when your predecessor sat right there in that seat a couple of years, last year in a committee hearing, I asked him a very detailed question about Matthew Thomas Crooks, the shooter responsible for the assassination attempt on President Trump's life. I didn't get an answer from Chris Wray that day, and I submitted written questions to the FBI and into the record of this committee, and I want to resubmit those questions today because I think we are still awaiting answers to those questions. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to submit them for the record, please. I'd like to ask you, sir, and the FBI, under your leadership, would you please respond to these questions, and can you commit to doing that?
As soon as the trial's over.
Thank you very much. I will end with this. Charlie Kirk is not dead because of what he said. Charlie Kirk is dead because people listened. He set up a tent that said, "Prove me wrong," and exercised his First Amendment right. That's all he did. And we will continue to do so in this country in order to preserve this constitutional republic. And with that, I yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I begin, I want to caution my colleagues on one-sided violence in this country. We just heard that there were no riots on the right. We're literally sitting in the building where there was a giant riot by supporters of the president, the right. We also heard that only leftists, have said that Trump is a Nazi. In 2016, the current vice president of the United States said, Trump is either a cynical asshole or he's America's Hitler. And so this is the problem. I don't want to have to say this garbage, but you want me to sit here and get painted with one brush, the whole left. No, there are extremes on the left, and there are extremes on the right. And we collectively should tackle that. But to come here and just look at us and say we all support what's going on in the extremes is why we can't solve anything in this building. Director, let me say first, thank you for being here, and my condolences on the loss of your friend. And I'm happy to hear that you want to do more on the social media platforms. It's crazy what's going on the social media platforms. There are So many conspiracy theories on what's going on with Charlie Kirk. Israel assassinated him, right? There are conspiracy theories about your personal social life all day. It is totally rampant. Big names on the right, Candace Owens, right? Talking about how what's been released as far as the dialogue between the perpetrator and his roommate is manufactured by the FBI, manufactured by the administration. It is totally rampant, allowing foreign governments to just perpetrate these platforms, all of these bots, all of the time to weaponize Americans. You see what's going on here? This is a byproduct of all of that. What's going on in the streets is a byproduct of all of that. What's happening is you see people celebrate Luigi Mangione is a byproduct of all of that. And so if we want to do something, then we should talk about Section 230. We should talk about how we're going to make sure that we don't let foreign governments poison our children's mind. And so I will work with you on that, Director.
I'll work with you on 230 any day.
No problem. So now, that was the good part. I want to take your attention back a second, okay? Breaking news. Kash Patel is nominated to be the FBI director. Dan Bongino is nominated to be the #2 at the FBI. MAGA celebrates, rejoices, bells are ringing out. The team, Patel, Bongino, that sought out every podcast microphone to talk about the Epstein list. The names are finally going to get released. It begins. They produce white binders. Phase 1 with the podcasters. This is not actually one of them, of course. I made this up. Your name's on it, right? And the names are going to come out. Pam Bondi says the list is on her desk. Then a memo comes out all of a sudden and says, there's no list. Oh, no phase 2. Phase 2 binders never happen. You said the conspiracy theories around Epstein just aren't true. They never have been. And yesterday, in an answer to Senator Kennedy, you said the FBI is not in possession of any credible evidence that Epstein trafficked girls to anyone but himself. So according to your testimony yesterday and in this committee, according to the evidence the FBI has, the number of names on the list are 0.
No,
zero.
The index has been released, and the number of people involved in that trafficking operation were charged in 2018.
Other than Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, your testimony in the Senate and here is that according to the evidence you have, the number of other names is 0.
That were charged based on credible evidence.
Well, who are the other names? Give me the other names that weren't charged.
We are not releasing the names of anyone because the Department of Justice never does that, of anyone that didn't have any credible information to attack them.
Let me move forward. The president has, you've seen the picture of the woman's body with the writing and the president's signature. The president says that's not his, okay? President says it's not his. The Republican colleagues say it's not his. The administration say it's not his. Will you be opening up an investigation into the Epstein estate for putting out a fake document with the president's signature linking him to the world's largest pedophile ring? Will you be opening that investigation into that?
On what basis?
On what basis? They literally put out a fake document, according to the president, with a fake signature. It's a forgery of the president of the United States signature. That's the basis.
Sure, I'll do it.
Okay, I look forward to that investigation.
What?
Oh, am I over? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your diligence.
Gentleman's time has expired. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from California.
Director Patel, as you know, my state, California, is home to the worst public infrastructure failure in U.S. history, known as California High-Speed Rail, although the name is probably a misnomer. Earlier this year, I joined your counterpart at the Department of Transportation, Sean Duffy, doing a compliance review of the federal money the state has received, and the outcome was that the state has not complied with the terms of its billions of dollars in funding because it hasn't actually built anything. And so that federal funding has now been cut off, but a lot of us in California still have questions as to where all the money went. We're 17 years in to this project, and absolutely nothing has been built. Not a single bit of track has been laid. There are no stations. There are no passengers. And the plan initially was to have the whole thing, LA to San Francisco, done by 2020 at a cost of $33 billion. Yet here we are in 2025. Nothing has been built. And according to the New York Times, the project project won't even be completed this century, and the total cost is now estimated to be over $130 billion. So I just wanted to ask you, do you think this is something that bears scrutiny, or can you confirm whether there's any kind of investigation going on at the FBI?
Every time we
The
say,
FBI
oh, we
certainly
dropping that
can't
bit.
investigate incompetence, but the FBI certainly can investigate and does investigate waste, fraud, and abuse. And so if we have any information that indicates that that happened in this situation or anything else, we'll look at it.
Thank you very much. We've also, been talking some today about the issues that occurred at the border during the Biden administration. You might not agree with your predecessor on everything, but you probably would agree with some of the statements he made in testimony before this and other committees, raising alarms about the risk of terrorism from illegal border
Every time you say, oh, we're dropping the smoke detector.
Since becoming director, have you gotten some insight into
Every time
how
you
well
say, oh, we're dropping the smoke detector,
and
bro.
what is the status of that risk now?
Since becoming director, there's been a sharp decrease of border crossings for known or suspected terrorists from the southern border. But unfortunately,
Bruh, it's a soundboard, bruh. Y'all, every time I drop it, y'all be fix your battery, fix your battery, fix your battery. You ever heard a smoke detector alarm go off like that? It's the Stream Deck. Make sure you get one. Voice Mod and Stream Deck. Sponsored by nobody yet, but letting you know, get it in your system so maybe you can do the same thing, baby. You know, just love it, man. That's what we do on the stream. Make sure you like and subscribe for more, baby.
Trying to do is work with our northern border states. And
The African ceiling bird. Y'all are hilarious.
It is an absolutely massive.
Y'all are
border,
wild.
That can't physically be sealed, so we're going to have to get creative and put more resources into
Oh, let me switch this up.
In a similar
Y'all
vein,
hilarious.
there were over 500,000 unaccompanied children that crossed the southern border during the Biden administration. As we know, many were trafficked either through forced labor or sex trafficking. Do you have any insight as to what the scale of that
Appreciate
problem
y'all,
was
man.
and how
The
things
African
changed
ceiling
over the
bird is
last several
hilarious.
months?
Other than what you outlined in terms of
I
how
love
it was
that
described, I
shit.
don't have any additional details. In terms of how many people are being trafficked into this country, especially unaccompanied missing children, that number has drastically reduced because the coyotes that smuggle these children for their criminal activity are the same ones that smuggle in narcotics, or the same one that traffic older age women. They're all interconnected, and because of the sealing of the southern border by this administration, that has come to a near halt.
That is a very important point, that we have seen far fewer victims of human trafficking because we've finally prioritized border security. And by the way, you have children who are getting rescued because of the immigration enforcement activities
African
that,
bird and ceiling
unfortunately, some
bird.
politicians in my state are trying to stop, thereby stopping those kids from getting rescued. We've seen, of course, a substantial reduction in crime here in Washington, D.C. since the FBI and the National Guard got
This dude
involved.
is kind of boring for real.
I'm kind of asking you to state the obvious here, but what is the mechanism there? Why have we seen a reduction of crime when D.C. has had such a huge crime problem for years, and then almost overnight we see such a big difference?
Because of the dedication and resources from President Trump's administration to utilize all federal, state, and local assets in a heavily crime-ridden area. I mean, if we did not have a crime-ridden area, then homicides, carjackings, and
Hey, Baba, you could donate if you want to donate. I'm not going to ask you to donate.
60%.
But if you want to donate,
allow the police,
you can
MPD,
donate.
to work with federal
For the
authorities
smoke alarm battery.
and allow
Hold
the
on, let me mute
National
Kash
Guard to
Patel.
set up your perimeter. This is what you can do in a few short weeks. And we
Now, if anybody on the stream wants to donate $1, 75 cents, $5.99, you can, because guess what? They call it the African ceiling bird. I kind of like that ring to it. But again, you can donate if you want to, but I'm not asking you to do it. It's a soundboard like everyone else. But I think...
Give me 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
2 claps and a Ric Flair, baby. Donate for the sound alarm. Drop some dollars in the chat. I'm not asking you for your money. I'm asking you to help me get some batteries for my smoke detector.
Butler, would you say that the public's understanding of what took place on that day is fairly consistent with all of the facts as you know them, or do you believe there's still material facts that have not been made public or are not fully understood by the public?
No, I think it's fairly consistent.
Thank you. I yield.
Gentleman yields back to the lady from Texas is recognized.
Man, oh man, there has been
There
so
she
much
go, my girl.
today, and I truly don't know
Let's go.
where to start. So
Let's
I'm
go.
just going to make sure that we start off with a few facts. So a couple of facts that we need to make clear for everyone is that, number one, Director Christopher Wray, when he was appointed to be the head of the FBI, was appointed by Donald Trump. Now, I will agree that I definitely take issue with a number of decisions that Donald Trump makes, especially when it comes to the people that he decides to appoint to very important positions, including this one, because I did have to make sure that I wasn't going crazy. But when I say that you are the least qualified FBI director in the history of the FBI, that is real, because you are the only one that never even served with the FBI prior to joining, yet we are supposed to believe that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. I didn't ask you a question. Now, what I want to go through is to talk about why you are a failure and why,
Thank you for the donation, Roderick.
to tell you bye-bye. I know that you got a little upset and you put on your show for your boss because it seems like you're trying to save your job when it came to talking to Senator Booker yesterday. But let's go through some of your failures. So before you were even confirmed, and I think one of my colleague from Georgia, pointed out that you are already targeting career officials so that you could direct illegal firings. Mind you, these cases that you were so upset about, which are the ones tied to Trump, the cases came through his handpicked FBI director. And frankly, when people sit around and say things like, oh, you know, we're happy because now we feel safe. I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacists, because I specifically as a black woman definitely don't feel safe. And frankly, my colleagues have been real nice to you today, and I applaud them, but I don't have the same demeanor because I know that multiple colleagues on this side of the aisle have faced death threats. In fact, somebody tried to kill one of my colleagues. And frankly, I don't know if this FBI or under your leadership, if those people would have been caught. I don't have any confidence in you. And if we start talking about the reasons that I lack confidence, we could start with you not just wanting to acknowledge some simple facts.
Let's go.
Simple facts like the vast majority of the threats are coming from right-wing extremism. And I know my colleagues have tried to stress this, but I decided that I would maybe do it in a different way. Number one, I have a couple of UCs. Kim Buck, one of multiple Republicans receiving death threats for voting against Jim Jordan as House Speaker. Another one, Republican lawmaker says she received death threats after voting against Jim Jordan in Speaker's race. In addition, there was another one from another colleague who now is leaving Congress because they said that they were calling his wife anonymously and threatening her life to the extent that she ended up sleeping with a firearm.
Dropping bombs.
Okay, so here's the deal. How are we supposed to have confidence when you're sitting up here telling the Senate yesterday that it will take you 14 years before you can get the FBI fully staffed to do their jobs? You're also now redirecting resources so that they can go and play ICE agents on the streets. You're getting rid of your most qualified people, and even when it came down to somebody that you consider to be a friend, you were posted up having some fancy dinner to the extent that you posted not only once erroneously, you posted twice erroneously as it relates to catching somebody, and then you want to go and say, let me take a victory lap. Because honestly, if it wasn't for parents deciding that they were going to turn in their child, it seems like y'all wouldn't have got there.
Oh, shit.
He literally confessed online. So I'm confused about what it is that the FBI is doing except for trying to put on a show for the apprentice or whatever you want to call him. The day after all of this took place, there was domestic terrorism that was taking place at HBCUs. They were targeted. Yet I didn't hear anything from the FBI about what was going on. And again, black people kept saying, how did we end up in this? Because the numbers are so very clear that white supremacy is a problem. And honestly, I've not heard anything out of you today that makes me believe that you're going to do anything about the white supremacy problem. The one that is leading to children being killed, children being shot, as well as members of their community as they're worshiping in their churches.
The time of the gentleman.
Let's go, man. Listen. I don't care about your politics. I like Jasmine Crockett, baby. I love me some Jasmine Crockett, baby. I don't care what you say, man. Make sure y'all like and subscribe. Soundboard going crazy.
Public defender, former
Somebody clip that.
top staffer on the House Intelligence Committee, Deputy Director of National Intelligence with the National Security Council, Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense, and FBI Director. I think that's pretty good resume for the guy who's now running the top law enforcement agency in our country. And we've seen all the stats that he's given to the committee on how much better they're doing at getting the bad guys.
We got to go viral on some of this, man. It's not everything isn't just for yes and agreeing. She snapped on that. I told y'all earlier.
I think you're witnessing some.
Hold on, let me mute this for a second. I want to compete in audio.
Clickbait auditions for the Academy Award.
Oh, I think I know why that's happening. This is respectfully, the House has Congress. They have the House. Well, the House has Congress. That doesn't make sense. The Republicans have the House. So this is the only chance that Democrats really have to clap back, and that's the most you're going to get. That's the most firebrand you're going to get from this. This is Canelo versus Bud Crawford in the 9th round. This isn't the first round. We've seen the first 8. Okay, cool. This was everything you need, right? So that's it. Let's get back to Kash Patel. I appreciate everybody tapping in, liking the stream today, man. I appreciate y'all tapping in. And guess what, again? The smoke detector is not underneath my batteries, but if you want to give for the smoke detector, let's go, man. Shut up and play the video. You want my stream, just keep swiping.
Facts.
Keep swiping.
You cannot dispute. But you can come at me all you want. I don't care.
Thank you, Director, for that. And we appreciate your service. We appreciate the results speak for themselves, I think, pretty plainly, and your commitment not only to results, but to transparency.
My girl snapped, man.
We do appreciate that. Director, who was John Durham?
He was a former federal prosecutor, United States attorney, and ultimately appointed special counsel in the first Trump administration.
Correct. And there was a document that he released in his findings called the Durham Report. What was the Durham Report briefly, and what were the findings very briefly?
It was every special counsel that's appointed produces a report to the Attorney General. Special counsel's Durham Report largely focused on Crossfire Hurricane and included extensive summary findings in classified and unclassified manner. And we released the classified version, finally declassifying it for the American public in this committee.
Correct. And you released that in July of this year.
I think so.
Yes, sir. Isn't it true that in the classified Durham Annex, as it's referred to, that in 2016, the Obama administration obtained intelligence information from a source contained in 2 separate memoranda, one in January of 2016 and one in March. The 2 memoranda described confidential conversations between DNC chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz and 2 individuals from the Soros Open Society Foundation. Isn't that true?
As written in the report, I'll let it speak for itself.
In the Durham Annex, in January of 2016, the memorandum noted in part that President Barack Obama intended to scuttle the FBI's investigation into Hillary Clinton's private email server and mishandling of highly classified information during her time as Secretary of State. Isn't that found in the report?
I believe so.
Isn't it also found in the report that in March of 2016, the memorandum also included references to the same Obama effort to shut down the Clinton investigation, but additionally outlined a plan to falsely connect Trump to Russia? Isn't that in the Durham Annex?
I think it's in more than the Durham Report, but yes.
The memo also stated in part that, quote, the Democrat Party's opposition is focused on discrediting Trump, among other things. The Clinton staff
cut the rate by 25 basis points.
Is preparing scandalous revelations of business connections between Trump and the Russian mafia. Isn't that also found in the now unclassified Durham Annex?
I believe so, sir.
According to the Durham Annex, based on analysis and translation of the intelligence, FBI analysts believed that special services could either mean the FBI or CIA, or the Trump dossier author Christopher Steele. Isn't that in the Durham Annex?
I believe so, sir.
When the Obama administration received intelligence in March of 2018, Fusion GPS was preparing open source opposition research regarding purported ties between Trump and Russians.
What's happening in the chat? Chat popping?
Clinton's campaign and the DNC. Isn't that open source and also in the Durham Annex?
I believe both.
Okay.
And so also in the Durham Annex, which I found interesting, was the potential campaign plan was shared with high-ranking career officials at DOJ. Isn't that in the Durham Annex?
I believe so, sir.
The Durham Annex
Hey, I appreciate. Hold on.
emails allegedly between Leonard Bernardo.
You got to mute the congressman shortly. So we had some action. I want to thank people who donated to the chat. My bad. My quick apologies, y'all, for not taking a moment to recognize people who've actually supported the chat today. Al, appreciate you dropping in some love. Roderick, keep it going. Appreciate the love as well, man. Y'all taking the time out of your day, spending it with me on my stream and dropping some love in the chat, man. I appreciate it. I'm not asking for donations, but if you ever want to give to the Battery Detector Fund, I may open up a political action committee, the Smoke Detector Battery Committee, the Smoke Detector Pack, the Battery Pack. Either way, appreciate y'all supporting the channel so far. I was waiting on the next congressman to go because that guy was kind of boring. Let's see who can follow up on the Democratic side behind Jasmine Crockett.
First one is Russia's ghostwriter hacker.
Oh, here we go.
takes
She back.
aim at German election. This is from Politico.
Objection.
The next one is Director of National Intelligence, 30 days until election 2024.
The African ceiling bird. Yeah, I like it. I like
Our
that.
assessments about activities and goals of
I
Russia,
like
Iran,
that.
and China are unchanged from earlier election security updates, and that they were meddling.
Objection.
And I've got three more. The last three are that how Russia is using artificial intelligence to interfere in elections. Moscow's attempts to interfere in U.S. and other elections are nothing new, though their tactics and strategy are constantly evolving.
Objection.
The next one is Russian interference coming soon to an election near you. Russia pursues a systemic strategy of undermining elections and influencing public opinion in the West. EU and NATO countries must recognize that Moscow often acts through agents within their own borders and build resilience to such interference.
And what's the source?
This one is CarnegieEndowment.org.
Okay, without objection.
Thank you.
The gentlelady from North Carolina is recognized.
It's not a ghetto
Thank you, Mr.
accent, it's
Chairman,
passion.
and
Y'all
Director Patel,
confuse
I'm
passion
glad
for
that I'm
ghetto
going
because that's the
a little
only
out of
accent
order
you
here
know.
because
But it's all right
I'm
though.
gonna pursue some of the things that you were just talking to Mr. Fry about and remind you about your confirmation hearing. At your confirmation hearing in January, you said under oath, and I quote, "There will be no politicization at the FBI. There will be no
He lied.
retributive actions taken by the
he
FBI
lied.
should I be confirmed."
He clearly lied.
And in your written response to the Senate questionnaire, you said, I quote, "Personnel decisions shall be based on performance and adherence to the law. And every FBI
I look better with glasses on, y'all. Let me know,
will be
chat.
held to the absolute same standard, and no one will be terminated for case assignments." So I want to just go through a couple of scenarios with you to get a sense of whether you think these are examples of politicization of the FBI or making decisions based on the performance and adherence to the law. So, first question. Would hiring FBI agents, analysts, and supervisors from only one political party being politicization of the FBI or making personnel decisions based on performance and adherence to the law?
Just say Cash is a DEI.
We don't ask FBI people, applicants, where their political parties are.
Mr. Patel, do you ask FBI applicants who they voted for?
The FBI does not.
Who would ask that?
Are you aware that in the lawsuit that Mr. Driscoll filed against you and the FBI, he was asked who he voted for?
Oh, wow.
Since that lawsuit has been filed that's ongoing litigation, I'm not able to comment.
Well, but it also means that you just said that what happened in his situation didn't happen. So we will go on to the next question.
You'll set up a question.
Let me ask you an even easier one. Does firing agents for working on the cases that they were assigned to and that the president didn't like. Is that politicization of the FBI or making personnel decisions based on performance and adherence to the law?
The FBI doesn't terminate anyone based on case assignments alone.
Has the FBI ever been sued by somebody who felt that they were terminated based on case assignments?
In the entire history of the FBI, I'm sure they have.
No, since your tenure.
I'm sure there's ongoing litigation.
Yes. In fact,
Hey.
there is on.
She sounded like one of my old teachers.
And in
No,
fact,
since your
people have been
tenure.
asked who they voted for.
Oh, God, that's
And
hilarious.
in
I like
fact,
that. That was
you
funny.
are running an FBI for the President of the United States rather than the people of the United States, because my questions were not.
Hey, Hayward. I'm
They're
actually a
the
Democrat.
things
That's
you
the
have done
craziest
during your
thing. I'm a Democrat.
And according to
I guess
a
I'm more
lawsuit
moderate.
filed last
You
week
could say
by
I'm more moderate,
long-term
but,
FBI agents, you fired.
This is not a Republican channel. However, if I'm moderate, the liberals don't like it and they name me Republican, and the blacks don't like it. If you say anything, you know, I'm black, so I can say the blacks, right? I feel comfortable saying the blacks, and I don't think it'll offend people. I'll say that. But for some odd reason, when you're not all the way liberal, sorry, left, which way is left for y'all? Because it could be different. My camera's flipped, right? When you're not all the way left, and you're in the middle, they label you Republican anyway. And when you're black and you do it, they label you Uncle Tom when you say anything. But I also realized after 15 years of working in policy, passing legislation, and Florida's political process, I realized I had the people that want to hate Republicans and want to love Democrats, or hate Democrats and love Republicans, don't even get involved in the process. They get shitted on in the process regardless. So it is what it is. You call me Uncle Tom, you call me Republican, but make sure you like and subscribe for more, baby. You know what time it is, baby. Let's get back to this. She's kind of boring. And respectfully, I'll respect all elected officials. But I do feel that some of y'all boring, and that's why you need to have a Jasmine Crockett sometimes. We need to have a Jim Jordan. Just leaving it there for those two, right? We need to have a firebrand on both sides. It's going to get people engaged, because the average person is going to be bored by the average congressperson talking. This lady talking like you don't know who she is outside the people who voted for her. You don't know her state. Congresswoman Ross, it looks like, right? Nobody knows her. Nobody in the media knows her except if she wants to have an interview, right? But regardless of it, to the point, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. You do need some firebrands, but then you also need those in the middle, the regular people who are gonna be like, you know what, hey, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, but you probably never seen me before. Only my constituents. Regardless, I appreciate y'all tapping in for your boy today, man. She's done. See, I told you, I ended just on time.
Inspired. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from North
I'm
Carolina.
about to switch over to this in a second. We're gonna go to Jerome Powell in a minute. Hear about the Fed cuts, see what they have to say about the economy. The people want houses.
I've got to say, one of the most disheartening components of the previous administration, when I was working with local law enforcement all over the state of North Carolina, all over the country, people rightfully did not really care about the inner workings of Washington, D.C. The FBI had previously been the paramount, the sterling, the top of the top law enforcement agency. They wanted their FBI to fight crime. Whatever small town, city, whatever it may be, FBI was expected to deliver for the American.
It's a soundboard.
And then reports started.
It's not my bad. It's not the batteries.
To the likes of McCabe,
it's a stream deck.
Clapper,
Voice
Strzok,
mod.
Page, that the FBI was targeting.
Make sure you
Christian
donate for the battery
nonprofits.
supplies.
They were targeting
Appreciate
parents
y'all.
for protesting radical gender theory at their schools. They targeted Catholics, churches, pro-life organizations. And the FBI was really bruised in modern day America. And your focus on getting the FBI back to the streets, fighting criminals, locking up bad guys, whether they're violent criminals, whether they're sex predators, whatever they may be, that is restoring the reputation of the FBI, and I thank you for that. In regards to the perceptions, I want to be very clear here. You mentioned the statistics about removing dangerous illegals, removing thousands of kilograms of drugs, violent criminals, guns. The border is secure. These accomplishments are noteworthy and they're needed. But at the same token, I want your take. The fight is not over. Isn't that correct? When we look at what happened in the previous administration, the number of illegal alien criminals that made their way into this country of every type, they're embedded, they're here, and it's going to take a sustained effort to win this battle.
That's the critical component, sustained effort. And that's the critical component when you look at what happened in Washington, D.C. We're not here for 4 seconds in terms of safeguarding Washington, D.C. It's a sustained initiative. We're taking it to Memphis and wherever we decide else. And so we are going to continue the mission till it's done.
In regards to offloading some of the agents from Washington, D.C. to the states, to the people, can you just explain how tactically that is a force multiplier in the law enforcement community around the country?
It's pretty simple. You don't even have to be in law enforcement to know that. If you put cops with other cops, they're going to do cop work. That's right. And what was needed in the communities out there was more cops. What was not needed in the bloated bureaucracy of Washington, D.C. was a third of the FBI's workforce, because a third of the crime does not happen in the Washington, D.C. NCR area. And so the results speak for themselves. Our state and local partners, I've always said this, are our biggest ally, our greatest ally and partner, and we cannot do the work without them. But we got to send our guys to them.
That's right. And in regards to the last 4 years, the open border policies, whether it's terrorism, drug trafficking, human trafficking, violent crime, massive amounts of organized retail theft, and other types of criminal behavior, can you describe, just so anyone who's listening here can talk about, how serious the levels of criminality have become in the United States?
Well, unfortunately, in order to have these record-breaking numbers of arrests and seizures, you tragically had to have a record-breaking explosion in violent crime. And it doesn't happen overnight. And it came in from all corners of the earth and from all platforms, including social media. And that's the root cause of all of these evils. And in order to clean it up, it's not going to happen overnight. But the men and women of the FBI, what they did in these 7 months, everybody should be talking about it. Every single district in this dais is safer now, today, than it has ever been because of that work.
And in regards to the ongoing political climate, Director Patel, how do sanctuary policies that are still being implemented and defended in certain states, cities, and counties, how do they help or hurt your efforts to make America safer?
Well, if you are harboring criminals, you are harboring our ability to keep our communities safe. It's that simple. If you have a fugitive warrant for a violent felony offense, and we are not able to procure you because of policies or rules that don't allow us to go get them. And time again, we have heard all too many illegal immigrants who should not have been here, murdering women, murdering children, giving drugs to our youth, and raping our children, and that is unacceptable.
Straightly put, can you separate immigration enforcement with fighting crime?
They're intertwined.
Thank you. In regards to policies like cashless bail, how does that help or hurt your efforts?
Criminals know that there are certain jurisdictions where if they shoot someone, they'll be out the door within the next hour to do it again. Yep. And that's an ethos and a system that has been built out over years that we are combating.
How is defunding the police around the country, how does that help or hurt?
Oh, come on now.
As long as I'm in this seat, we're not defunding any cops.
Good. Thank you, Director. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Garcia is recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Jordan, and welcome again, Director Patel. As members of the Judiciary Committee, we have a responsibility to conduct oversight of the FBI and assess whether or not you're doing a good job in a responsible and impartial manner, or whether you're just a henchman for Donald Trump who's weaponizing the Bureau at the expense of public safety. As Congressman for tenure, is the Bureau's expanded role in low-level, non-criminal immigration enforcement. I have a report here from the conservative Cato Institute. They've obtained ICE documents showing that over 2,500 FBI personnel are now working on immigration enforcement. A yes or no question. Did you sign off on this?
2,500 FBI employees are not currently working on immigration enforcement.
Did you sign off on this?
On the Cato report?
On the 2,500 personnel, FBI personnel that have been reported to now be working on immigration enforcement.
I couldn't have signed off on it because it's not happening.
You can call it whatever you want, but the reality is that over 2,000 personnel.
Gotta be respectful.
Individuals are now working instead of their jobs. I want to follow up on something that Senator Durbin asked you about yesterday. This article from MSNBC reports that nearly every agent on Baltimore's domestic terrorism unit, who was, by the way, investigating the 764 network of child predators, was diverted to work on immigration enforcement full-time. That forced them to, and I quote him, walk away from investigations of a network of violent predators that targets and exploits children online. Yes or no? Were you aware that this happened, and did you sign off on it?
The premise is false. The 764 network in Baltimore is taken down, and FBI agents do double and triple duty all the time.
I'm reclaiming my time. You told Senator Durbin yesterday you didn't know about it, so your testimony is inconsistent today.
No, I found
Final
out.
question. Let me ask you again
Well,
a yes
they
or no
started
question.
everything with time shit,
Are you
but they ain't
aware
let no
that
time
agents
slide.
have been told by supervisors not to documenting their shifting of resources toward immigration-related work?
That's a literal another falsehood. It's impossible to move a human being without documenting that work.
As FBI director, you must be transparent with Congress. You need to provide us information about how many agents have been diverted to
So like I told you, like, this is kind of why you need a Jasmine Crockett. I know Republicans hate her. My people, we love her, right? And it's not even a fact of effectiveness, because you have some elected officials that are effective, some that are firebrands, gonna get in the press. Then out of all of them, some are actually gonna get the job done, right? But outside of Mr. Garcia's constituents, whatever state he may be from, nobody's engaged by this guy. You feel me? And that's a part where you got to be involved with your locals, your state elected, know who your elected officials are. And I'm not even saying vote party. I actually say, hey, I think you should vote for someone who relates to you. You feel me? Maybe they were a bag boy at the grocery store at Kroger or Publix growing up. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they had the same upbringing, but they could be a Republican. You're like, you know what? When I look at your family, when I look at your upbringing, when I look at your business, I'm not saying I want to be like you. I think that we have the same values, right? And sometimes if we get out of race politics, if we ought to get out of, hey, I got to vote for you because you're Republican, I got to vote for you because you're Democrat, I think it kind of helps the American people be like, you know what? I voted for this person. I understand who they are, but maybe they reflect the personality of that section of America, right? But I do believe that we're so polarized, especially after Charlie Kirk, you know, especially people being inhumane about life in general. But I do think that we're so polarized with race politics, with partisan politics, that we got get outside of the fact of sometimes we just need to vote for somebody who we relate with. They don't have to be black. They don't have to be white. You can be like, you know what? Shit. We went to the same state. We went to the same college, where maybe they went to Florida, you went to Georgia. But it's like, you know what? You found a bond over a football rivalry to say, you know what? I'm going to support you wherever you go going forward, right? And I think that's what we need to get to as American people. I think that helps. Instead of attacking people and get to a point of saying, hey, a conservative podcaster, speaker, they say he was a leader of Christ. You know, people glorified Charlie Kirk, but kind of helps diffuse that. Because when you're spinning the narrative of bullshit, bullshit happens, right? But I think that, and I'm not saying the Charlie Kirk thing, I'm saying in general, like bullshit like losing the elections. Bullshit like, hey, we have nothing to talk about. We're Democrats. How do we win our country back? We lost middle America. Republicans, what do? We chastise everybody, right? So all of a sudden, bullshit happens, and nobody is interested in the real fact of, hey, how do we actually fix these issues that everybody's dealing with in America, right? So don't try to clip that and make me sound like I'm heartless. I'm not. You know, we streamed it that night. But let's get back to this congressman. Another one that we don't know. This could be your member, but let me know where you're tapping in from today. I appreciate y'all. Tapping in. Make sure you like and subscribe for more, man.
Horrific overreaction at the big Hindu temple in New Jersey, in which, just so people understand, you had a rectory in the
Yes, Cash, this is live.
The religious leaders, you know, taken out at gunpoint, big problems, and I think finally the FBI trying to turn America's viewpoint on certain political issues. And when I talk about that,
Reading through some of the chat.
I'm talking about what was done in Mexico with regard to shipping weapons.
I hear you, Alex. They're just some of them boring, man. I don't want y'all me to lose viewers because these congressional members are just boring.
Against the First Amendment. But in any event, what scares me is, and all these horrible things that were done in the past, there were individual FBI agents who participated in them, in which apparently their supervisors told them this is okay or even admirable. And what I'm going to ask you, are you able to do anything to make sure that in the future these corrupted FBI agents understand the importance of religion in our life and they're not to view it with suspicion? They understand parental
Appreciate y'all
rights
tapping in
and
and support, man.
traditionally in America, parents have the ability to object when their young 5 or 6 year old children or year-old or very young children are getting what most people consider highly inappropriate sexual contact. What are we doing there to try to make sure we don't have problems with these FBI agents again, or make sure that in the future administrations, they would object if they are asked to behave in such a immoral fashion?
Two things. If you are corrupt, you don't work at the FBI. It's that simple. So we don't tolerate any form of corruption or any deviation from our high standards, whether you're an agent, an intel analyst, or whatnot. And just to show the American public the resurrection that the FBI has had in these last 7 months, you don't have to believe me. Our applicant pool has doubled month over month, every year, from the highest point it has ever been. More people want to work at this FBI than ever before.
Thanks for the support,
I'm sure that's
Sonny.
because of you. And you kind of
Moswani,
anticipated my
appreciate
next
that.
question.
Appreciate that.
I talked to retired FBI agents in my area who sometimes retired in part because they hated the woke, anti-conservative culture at the FBI. And they are concerned, the retiring agents.
Thank you for the support
about
today. I really
new
do appreciate
agents,
it.
Not on your watch, but before.
Gotta
this,
get money for the smoke to check the battery.
Being corrupted in the universities before they were hired.
Hey, Shar.
And they are very worried about what will happen with the new agents. So I think you're answering my question. Do you feel you'll be able to a certain extent solve the problem of inappropriately woke agents filling up the agency in the past, because now you're going to have a larger pool to draw from?
Everybody that comes to work at the FBI is allowed to have their own belief system, but they're not allowed to bring that belief system into the workplace. And anyone that does won't work at the FBI.
Okay, very good. Now, recently, there's another potential scandal, I guess, a politically motivated thing, Arctic frost. Do you want to comment on that? And it appears one more time as perhaps the FBI was getting involved in what would normally be considered political events.
We are not getting involved in political events, except this one.
Okay. And final thing, with regard to prejudice against Catholics, what happened in the big Hindu temple there in New Jersey, do you think, have you ever, has anybody ever apologized to the Catholic Church or apologized to that temple?
I don't know, sir.
Okay. Is that something you think would be perhaps a good idea to do in the future?
I think leadership should address it.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, time has expired. Gentleman yields back the, so we got the
I don't think we got much left here. I'm waiting for Jerome Powell.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank
Talk
you,
about these
Director
rate
Patel,
cuts
for,
next. I have another
your
screen waiting
endurance
for that.
and
I'm gonna
your
leave it here till we get there, though.
throughout today's hearing, and for all you've shared. First of all, let me start by saying that I was very grateful and glad to see that the FBI has joined the investigation of the tragic and brutal murder of Irina Zarutska in Charlotte, which is just right by my district. This woman, as you know, fled the war in Ukraine only to be killed in cold blood by a man who had no business being on the streets whatsoever. This man who had been seen stabbing Irina to death on video had been arrested 14 previous times, served prison time, and was diagnosed with a severe mental illness. In response to the previous offense, the magistrate over his case released him to roam the streets with a $0 bond and a simple written promise to appear in court. Mr. Patel, let me just ask, should judges apply the most lenient bail standards to people with extensive criminal history?
Do they apply the most lenient? I'm sorry.
Yeah, should they apply the most lenient bail standards to people with extensive criminal history?
That has not been my experience. That should not happen.
Is America a place where young women should fear to ride public transit?
No.
And was Irina Zarutska's death, would you say, possibly the result of Democrats' pro-crime policies?
That investigation and matter is in open trial, so I don't want to stylize the evidence.
I understand. Well, Mr. Patel, let me just say, taking over the FBI after the Biden administration's blatant weaponization of the agency is no easy feat, as we've recognized throughout this hearing today. For 4 years, we witnessed the Biden administration targeting regular Americans rather than violent criminals. For example, the Biden administration's FBI spent its time and resources going after churches and Christians. We know that the FBI used an undercover agent to collect information about a parishioner. We know that the FBI investigated and surveilled a Catholic priest. And all of this was in response to First Amendment protected activity. Mr. Patel, I want to ask you, should the FBI use its resources to spy on Catholics?
Never.
So what does it say about the culture of the Biden FBI that law enforcement resources were used to go after Catholics, and some FBI employees were comfortable with taking such actions?
Well, pursuant to my transparency initiative and working with Congress on oversight, those documents, that's it. Those documents are available for the American public to see and read and hold people accountable, and that's what I'm committed to.
And so have you been able to hold accountable those at the FBI who went after law-abiding Catholic church members?
If they did so improperly, yes.
Well, I've been a pastor for 36 years, and I've constantly stood up for life and stood up for family amidst a culture that's increasingly hostile to both of those things. And if the Biden administration targeted Catholics, could I have been targeted by the Ray FBI as well?
Well, I don't know, but I'm not going to target you.
Well, I know that President Trump respects religious liberty and that his administration is seeking to right the wrongs of the Biden administration. Securing our freedoms and protecting faith leaders and communities requires a multi-pronged approach. What would you say in just the last few moments, what is the FBI under your leadership doing to make sure that our religious liberty and religious leaders can rest comfortably?
Jerome Powell.
Zealously protecting our First
Good afternoon. My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people.
Are we cutting the rates?
While the unemployment rate remains low, it has edged up. Job gains have slowed and downside risks to employment have risen. At the same time, inflation has risen recently and remains somewhat elevated. In support of our goals and in light of the shift in the balance of risks, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by 1/4 percentage point. We also decided to continue to reduce our securities holdings. I'll have more to say about monetary policy after briefly reviewing economic developments. Recent indicators suggest that growth of economic activity has moderated. GDP
This is
growth,
the Fed rate. They're cutting the rates. The mortgage rate's going down 25%, y'all.
1.5% in the first half of the year, down from 2.5% last year. The moderation in growth largely reflects a slowdown in consumer spending. In contrast, business investment in equipment and intangibles has picked up from last year's pace. Activity in the housing sector remains weak. In our summary of economic projections, the median participant projects GDP to rise 1.6% this year and 1.8% next year, a touch stronger than projected in June. In the labor market, the unemployment rate edged up to 4.3% in August, but remains little changed over the past year at a relatively low level.
I'm about to go back to Kash in a second. I have to get
Gains have slowed
this announcement
significantly
in.
to a pace of just 29,000 per month over the past 3 months. A good part of the slowing likely reflects a decline in the growth of the labor force due to lower immigration and lower labor force participation. Even so, labor demand has softened, and the recent pace of job creation
0.25, my
appears
bad.
to be
My
running
bad.
below the break-even
25
rate
basis points, my
needed
bad.
to hold the unemployment rate constant. In addition, wage growth has continued to moderate while still outpacing inflation. Overall, the marked slowing in both the supply of and demand for workers is
0.25, my apologies
unusual.
there, y'all. Didn't mean to
In this
confuse the people
less
that's actually
dynamic
paying
and
attention.
somewhat softer labor market, the downside risks to employment appear to have risen. In our SEP, the median projection for the unemployment rate is 4.5% at the end of this year and edges down thereafter. Inflation has eased significantly from its highs in mid-2022, but remains somewhat elevated relative to our 2% longer-run goal. Estimates based on the Consumer Price Index and other data indicate that total PCE prices rose 2.7% over the 12 months ending in August, and that, excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices rose 2.9%. These readings are higher than earlier in the year as inflation for goods has picked up. In contrast, disinflation appears to be continuing for services. Near-term measures of inflation expectations have moved up
A Target push ain't putting like they used to.
on news about tariffs, as reflected in both market and survey-based measures. Beyond the next year or so, however, most measures of longer-term expectations remain consistent with our 2% inflation goal. The median projection in the SEP for total PCE inflation is 3.0% this year and falls to 2.6% in 2026
Let's go back
and
to
to
Kash Patel.
2.1%
What your
in 2027.
motivation or bias is behind it.
Very good. We've also noticed a dramatic surge of
Appreciate
a
you, Joe.
number of clinics offering so-called gender-affirming care. Whistleblowers in a recent NIH study confirmed that these clinics prey on some of the most mentally ill children and young adults in our society. And these clinics are quick to prescribe life-altering puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgery. And often these patients get worse rather than better. And unfortunately, some have become violent. Some have even committed mass shootings. And the partner of one of them assassinated Charlie Kirk. Director Patel, is the FBI looking into the role that these gender clinics may have in the recent attacks in making these mentally ill individuals violent?
We're looking at the entire spider web for any of these attacks, be it Denver or Charlie or where have you. And that's why our investigations are ongoing. We don't have a final product yet.
One of my Democrat colleagues, as an aside, mentioned, quote, the federal takeover of our cities. And I don't know whether my Democrat colleagues, for some reason, liked Washington, D.C. better when it was more dangerous and more violent, when there were more robberies and carjackings and murders and rapes. But what has the crime picture in Washington, D.C. looked like since the so-called federal takeover?
2,100 arrests, 37% decrease in violent crime, same time last year, 60% decrease in gun crimes, 74% decrease in carjackings, and 53% reduction in homicides in Washington, D.C. in the last month alone.
Very good.
Hold on, Josh said that he went to Walmart and the case of 72 eggs was down to $13. When Biden was president, the same eggs were up to 39. Josh, how many kids you have in your family to have 72 eggs? I have a family of 3. That's hard for us to get through a dozen in like 2 weeks. So I'm trying to figure out where you buying 72 eggs from and what do you need them for? Do you have a bakery? If you have a bakery, I completely understand. If you're making cakes and pies and all type of, well, not pies, cakes and breads and all type of shit. Yeah, cinnamon rolls and shit. Yes, but please let me know, what are you buying 72 eggs for, please? Unless you're egging people's house. What are we talking about?
From the 302 interview, this person, staffers were instructed to use any sources that had developed within the United States intelligence community to gather information, which would then be made public through the media in order to compel public opinion. You familiar with that?
I am.
Yeah, and that's how they played the game.
Mom, I was buying that many for 5 girls?
Classified or otherwise, true or otherwise,
Jesus.
to create this public opinion to compel action to undermine the
Hey,
president.
man,
I believe so.
Just one other point.
Where's your page at, Divas Mom? I'm going to send you $5 for a pack of eggs. My goodness.
That
it may be a half a card.
that the witness provided the interviewing agents with copies of both his handwritten notes and an email. So he gave them the stuff he wrote.
Hey, Dominic, I see it. My family need to eat more eggs. My wife doesn't like eggs.
That's all in the 302.
So it's only my son and I. Let me mute them a little bit. It's only my son and I, right, that end up eating eggs, and he's 3, so it's really only me in the house. So I make French toast. My wife eats French toast, but she doesn't eat eggs at all. So we don't eat that many eggs. So We could buy like 6 brown eggs or a dozen eggs and be straight. And then like, damn, we got 4 or 5 eggs left, but 72 eggs, bruh, I'm going egging. They gonna, my HOA's coming after me about that shit. No way. No way. I see it. I have a small family.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I bought 60 egg cartons last 2 weeks. Wow. Not that many, maybe 32.
Terminations where it states
My girl
denying
back, hold on.
fundamental due process and summarily dismissing
girl
special
back.
agents will only make it harder to protect our nation. These actions distract agents from their work, foster fear that their assignments could cost them their careers either now or under the next administration, and increase the risk of criminal and national security threats by undermining unity
Josh.
and morale within the Bureau.
Without objection.
The next one is a
Oh, she's submitted, so I
CNN
thought she about
article.
to clap
FBI
back there.
agents are again pulled from their day jobs to address a Trump priority. It states morale is the worst I've seen, said
that's my
one
girl,
law enforcement
Crockett.
source. The Bureau is
she be
becoming
styling.
unrecognizable. Lots of people are weighing really difficult decisions right now.
Without objection. Gentlelady from Pennsylvania is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd request unanimous consent to introduce into the record a September 16th.
No, there's some in articles. Again, you could not like Jasmine Crockett for whatever she represents. I get it, that's cool. But you need that in politics. You need a firebrand. You need people working behind the scenes. You need people working all type of this process. You know, you need a pro tem. You need a whip. You need all of that. You need people to go whip the votes after you done piss people off. You know, it's part of the process. But I love Jasmine. He's stylish.
That Donald Trump has been tougher on crime and tougher on international terrorism than any president in American history. I imagine that brings you a lot of satisfaction and pride.
They
as
be
director
throwing out
of
American
America's
history
foremost,
like
law enforcement agency.
we just started last week, man.
Recently,
Like,
President Trump conducted very strategic and important
Y'all love
strikes
Jasmine, man.
on
She knows how to
Iran's,
play the game.
Nuclear apparatus in that country.
Feed eggs to my
We also
dog.
know that there are concerns of significant Iranian sleeper terrorist cells
Let's
here
get back
in
to
the
the egg
US,
prices.
perhaps exacerbated by the open border during the Biden administration. What can you tell Congress and the American people about what the FBI is doing to safeguard us from potential terrorist attack by Iranian cells?
So our counterterrorism division, which is fully stocked up, watches for reflections in the intelligence streams that our intelligence community collects and produces, and works hand in glove with our partners at the CIA and elsewhere to make
I'm gonna
sure
vote on
that
this one. I know I'm gonna
threat,
vote on
even if
my
it's
polls.
hearsay, double hearsay, triple hearsay, or totally incredible, is not only fully run down, but we also take our duties to notify and give defensive briefings to those who are mentioned in those intelligence reports to make sure that we do both our notification obligation and our investigatory obligation.
Thank you. The FBI is also the
I just need to know from the poll, how many eggs do you eat a week, man?
apparatus here in the U.S.
I'm a vote.
We know
I'm
the
less
US
than 5.
faces a
I'm
more
a vote on
complex
my phone.
threat of global,
I'm a less than
more
5 egg
complex,
eater.
array of global threats in any time, perhaps World War II, or even
I
superseding
need to know where y'all at.
that
'cause,
time.
dude,
As
these egg
America
prices,
continues
y'all
to
eating-
be under attack from various
y'all
intelligence
eating 72,
agencies globally, what can you tell us about the counter-intelligence
72 eggs a month,
operations
dude,
the
the
FBI's
fuck?
core function?
What is
This
polling?
is why the
Vote on my
CIA
own
mission
polls,
is so
man.
important to the FBI, because as you said, no one else can do it. No one else has the authorities to do it. And even if they did, they don't have the capabilities to do it. And the
I
CIA
can't vote on my
mission
own poll
has
from
to
my own
be
profile. I gotta go to another YouTube profile and do it. It's not that
but
serious.
have far-reaching capabilities because we have to face against our adversaries in the DPRK, in Russia, China, Iran, and elsewhere. And in order to do that, we have to have dedicated intelligence professionals on those target sets. And since I become director, I've demanded not only
I should have put like 3 and then 5 and 7 because clearly 5 is beating ass right
the
now.
world knows that our adversary is A, attacking us, and B, we're stopping them. And that's why you've seen these dramatic increases in counterintelligence arrest.
Joe, you must have been on the toilet heavy. I know your farts stink. Joe, your farts is
We are showing the
stank.
world
Okay,
they are
4 eggs
trying
yesterday,
to
bitch.
engage in espionage activities.
Please, I know your wife was
We're
upset.
holding them accountable publicly.
Do not fart under the covers with her, please, because she's gonna kick you out the house, Joe.
The Maduro regime.
She gonna hit the smoke detector on your ass when you fart.
Both their potential support.
Just like that. Joe
terrorist
farted.
activity, criminal drug networks, and potential espionage entities here within the U.S. What can you tell us about your activities regarding the Maduro regime of Venezuela?
Generally speaking, one of the largest shipment points for narcotics out of South America, Colombia, obviously, and also Venezuela.
Oh, hilarious, man. I appreciate y'all today, man.
Traffickers to send up cocaine, meth, and fentanyl and excuse me, all the other illegal narcotics through the island chains in the Caribbean Ocean and ultimately for America. So there has to be more work done in the region to stop those navigable waterways from being traversed
broccoli farts
for America.
And finally, Mr. Director, what is the one thing that Congress could most do in terms of passing a law to best support the FBI in making America safer and more secure?
12 in a day.
Get us more
What
authority.
are y'all going through? Let me go see if I got some eggs in my fridge. I'll be back.
Get onto social media companies, gaming platforms, have legal access, and also have private partnerships with the FBI of those companies and allow them to report into us on a daily basis. There is no human being or AI system on earth that can go out there and cover down on the threat in those theaters. And so we need the assistance and we need more authorities and we need the private sector to double down.
Well, thank you very much for all your
I got to pause the stream for a second because y'all been with me for a minute. We've been talking about these eggs.
Gentlemen,
While these members of Congress been going off. I got to be real with you. I made the full face. So I went and got some eggs out my fridge, right? This is, like I said, we don't buy 72 eggs. This is the pack we get. And we don't get eggs a lot. Like, check this out. Can you see the expiration? These expire like the top of August. Crazy, right? They've been sitting in the back of the fridge. And we have 3 eggs left. Absolutely crazy. So I'm about to throw these away. They're not good. Actually, even though y'all think we should go egg somebody's house? I'm 40 years old. What do you think the headlines will be if a lobbyist eggs somebody's house and get caught? I got 3 eggs, so probably I could do that. Like, that's the thing. You can't do like 30, 40 eggs. I think I could egg somebody's house or car with 3 of these. And before, whatever, I'm good. They're still good. Diva, they still good. I'm going to tell my wife. My wife will still use them. My wife will still use these for real. But let me get back to this. Let me get back to the Congress. Man, y'all ain't come for no egging party.
In terms of evidence analysis, from the state
I'm gonna ask my wife to bake a cake with these or something. We got to use these. Like, we can't be throwing away good.
Such as the Coverdale grant.
That's why you like Cuba Good and Junior back in there. I take all the black companies. Diva's mom.
Correct in
hey, Diva's mom, find me. I'm gonna mute you out again. Hold on.
Maintain robust funding for those.
Diva's mom is Hip Hop Lobbyist on Instagram. Send me some recipes I can send to my wife. Be like, hey, Monica says good. I got a couple votes. So if my wife tries to throw these away, I'm gonna tell them Diva's mom and Monica say they still good. Those eggs are still fine. Listen, they good for baking and they good for throwing, man. I'll be back. I'm gonna put these back in the fridge.
Designated a number of cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. That's not just a paper transaction. I believe the list has been expanded since those first actions. In terms of America's military engagement with the cartels abroad, in terms of our intelligence engagement with them abroad, that designation has had real meaning and has affected some of the thinking and approaches
We're
of our
back.
military and
Make
our
a cake. I'm gonna
intelligence
tell
community.
them.
Can you talk a bit about how that designation might be affecting or should be affecting the FBI's approach to dealing with domestic activities
crazy egging story.
of the cartels?
I may
Simple
tell
way
you
to
that.
analogize
Crazy
it is
egging
after
story. We went egging on family campus
and
freshman year.
The manhunt for the foreign terrorist organizations overseas in places like Afghanistan and Iraq. The FBI received certain authorities to go out there and dedicate a mission to go after them both lawfully and investigatorially and collect evidence and provide it to our interagency partners. Once the foreign terrorist organization designation was labeled over to the Mexican drug cartels, we can now do that here. And in Mexico, and in Colombia, and in Venezuela, and anywhere else they are. And so that's the best analogy I have. What we're able to do is take our counterterrorism platform, traditionally used for global terrorist manhunting, and bring it into this hemisphere against a very real threat, which is the drug traffickers, and they are foreign terrorist organizations. So we just have so many more resources and authorities now directed at them.
So, for example, Director,
in the regions from the vantage point of local law enforcement, there are structures that have historically handled those partnerships separately. HIDTA, for example, is an example on the drug trafficking side. The JTTFs are an example on the terrorism side. How is the thinking evolving in terms of on a regional basis, either merging or not merging those structures now that the targets in many ways are merged?
So the JTTFs are kind of our forward operating base across every single state in this country to take on that mission. And anytime you're labeled a foreign terrorist organization, you know, you come right under the authorities of the JTTF, the task force officers, and the state and local level police work that gets done in those JTTFs. And the Homeland Security Task Force layer on top of that, I think 25 or 30 across the country, specifically working with DHS and Secretary Noem to go after the drug trafficking foreign terrorist organizations, because they have unique capabilities and authorities dedicated to that mission. And so that's the beauty of the HSTFs.
Let me ask you an adjacent question, Director. I noticed in your written testimony, I don't think we've talked about it yet.
Yeah, I think this is kind of
an expiring authority.
I hate to say play now. It's kind of boring. I want to move on to the next thing. And to be factual for a second, I didn't really listen to a lot of Charlie Kirk stuff before, you know, his untimely demise. However, there's a guy named Nick Fuentes who I've seen but have not overly paid attention to. But I think he's picked up a lot more headwinds lately than people want to maybe give credit for, right? And as you know, he's probably banned on a lot of platforms, anti-Semitic, racist comments, white supremacists, they say, but he's half Mexican. So describe that how you want to, right? But regardless of it, I want to actually go through some of the stuff, because what I've seen since Charlie Kirk's passing is that the conservative pundits, the analysts, have really been spiraling. You have Candace Owens saying everything to stay relevant, Ben Shapiro, but Nick Fuentes seems to be having a polarizing ideology on America, right? And okay, MJ, did I say the wrong name? Whatever. But regardless, let's check this out. I'm trying to get let me get a good layout so that people can see it. So, you know, even for my edits, it won't be too complicated for the people. But at least, you know, look good for y'all on the vertical. But let's get this out. Nick Fuentes. Let's see what he has to say in this 2-minute and 34-second clip. Yeah.
Charlie Kirk was offered an infusion of $150 million by Israel. Okay? That would double Israel's budget, or excuse me, Turning Point USA's budget. Turning Point USA has an annual budget of $140 million. Netanyahu offered Turning Point $150 million for one purpose and one purpose only: to shill for Israel harder. Turning Point USA is already pro-Israel. They're not anti-Israel. They've never been anti-Israel. Charlie Kirk has, in the past, criticized Bibi Netanyahu. He has criticized secular left-wing Jewry in America. He has criticized a war with Iran, the famine in Gaza. He has never opposed Israel in itself. He has never explicitly opposed Israel. Israel offered him $150 million to be more pro-Israel than they already were, to be harder in their support for Israel, and in particular, to support regime change in Iran and to support their ethnic cleansing and genocide in Gaza. And Charlie Kirk refused the money. And I have independently confirmed that, by the way. I've heard that from 4 people. 4 people that I trust that are in the know. So this is coming from Candace Owens, a friend of Charlie Kirk. This is coming from Max Blumenthal, who purports to have a source. And I have heard from a handful of people independently of those sources that this offer was real and that Kirk turned down the money. After Charlie Kirk turned down the money, Netanyahu asked if he would come visit Jerusalem and give him the re-education tour. The Holocaust Museum, the burned babies, the beheaded babies, the one that Elon Musk took, the one that our Speaker of the House took.
Wow.
Anyone that's ever criticized Israel has been subjected to. He refused that as well. They offered to bribe him. They tried to re-educate him. He refused both offers.
You see, I think it's dangerous to put these narratives out there. But Nick Fuentes doesn't care about danger, clearly. I mean, I think it is if you're black. I think black people are the only thing he's supposedly scared of, right? But it's kind of dangerous not even to have this man be buried yet. And we have these narratives that aren't coming just from the right, aren't just coming from mainstream media, whoever you want to believe. It's coming from their own conservative base. And it seems like the base is spiraling left and right. But let's see what else we got. Nick Fuentes.
Based about Mexicans. You know, it's really based about Mexicans. They know what's up with blacks. A lot of people think, you know, they're all the same. Mexicans and blacks are all the same. They're not. Black people will like kill you for no reason. Mexicans have gang violence, but it's mostly kept within, you know, the family. And the other thing is that Mexicans do not fuck with blacks like that. And during BLM, you know the safest place to be during BLM? Mexican neighborhoods. Dude, it was like the Reich of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Like Cicero, Little Village, Pilsen, they were like establishing security checkpoints. It looked like the Third Reich in Mexico. When George Floyd died, they were running that shit. They were on top of it. During the BLM riots, the city was up for grabs. You know, downtown was getting raided. My white friends in the city, they were hiding in their basement. Mexican neighborhoods were on fucking lock. They were doing like checkpoints, pulling people over for being black. Turning cars away. No. Not here, buddy. Not here, hombre. I was proud to be Mexican that week. You know, they had that shit on lock. Now, when ICE comes around,
and that's the thing, right? And we talk about this. I think Whoopi Goldberg got in trouble about this when she talked about Jewish people. You know how they can, you know, pass for white. But now you have Nick Fuentes, whose last name is not Smith, it's not Washington, it's not Hamilton, it's not Adams, it's not none of it. It's Fuentes, so he's Mexican, half Mexican. On his dad's side, his mom's Italian. I had to do a little research on who is this guy. But then it gets to a point of saying you've assimilated so much to white that you're pushing this white narrative, and it's just straight plain racist. Because I know plenty of Mexicans that get along with black folks. So where does the narrative come from? Because it's like it's almost as if, respectfully, for those Mexicans or white people or black people or white people who never see a black person or a Mexican person, you're creating this fear. You're planting this seed of bullshit, and you're going viral off the shit. You've been kicked off every fucking platform, and you're going viral for this bullshit. And it's sad because you're really spiraling. You're trying to find yourself and identify yourself, and you're spewing out this hate as if, oh, you know, the Mexicans were, here's what they were doing when all this other, here's what my white friends were doing. Did your white friends even accept you? When they found out, oh, Fuentes, you're Hispanic, right? Oh, no, I'm white. No, you're Mexican. Right? It's fucking sad that this is like, it's not sad. You know, America's free speech. I don't want to sound like I'm a victim here. Fuck the bullshit, right? Fuck this guy. Because he's spewing bullshit, right? Oh, I hate him. I hate the fact that he's using like the Gilbert Gottfried style, like, and Godfrey wasn't political, but that's what he sounds like to me. He's giving Gilbert Gottfried with these trees around him spewing bullshit as if people actually want to buy the shit. And it's like, there can be a crazy side of the Republican Party that this dude's probably leading, because they're crazy side of the Democratic Party that we see them leading. You feel me? That the unions or the environmental folks or the people that want to sexualize their children's education, like, we get it. Both sides of the fence are crazies. But who is this guy? How? Let's go to the next one. It's complete bullshit.
Where is the leadership? Where's the messaging? Where's the information? Where is the whole of government effort to get to the bottom of this, Keep the American public apprised.
Hold on, man.
Leadership. Where's the messaging? Where's the information? Where is the whole of government effort to get to the bottom of this? Keep the American public apprised to deter future attacks.
Yeah, grippers.
And to ensure that this will not happen again. Where is it? And shame on all of the Trump shills for not calling this out. They will praise anything. The Cracker Barrel logo, the Department of War, the Gulf of America. And honestly, I was, and I'm not just trying to politicize this, but I was genuinely disturbed by Trump's reaction to Charlie Kirk's death. Isn't this your friend? They asked him about it the day after, and he said, yeah, anyway, so we're building the new East Wing. Are you serious? You got shot. This is your 31-year-old friend who supported you for years. You know him by name. Your son is friends with him. It doesn't seem like he could be bothered. He didn't go to the memorial. He's golfing. He's dancing at a sports outing.
I'll tell you in a second, dudes, Mom. I got you.
He said he got the news about Charlie Kirk. Oh, and I was in the middle of building the beautiful new ballroom. Really, man? What a disaster.
Only thing I can like about it is it's going to cause some questions to be answered on the Republican side. Diva's mom, it's hip hop lobbyist, the same on Instagram, hip hop HIPHOPLOBBYIST. You can follow me on IG, but if you can send those recipes about those eggs, we're gonna make sure we get those things cooked up since they're still good. You feel me? There was something I saw that he went out Candace Owens. Let me see if I can get this one up. And no, it's a couple of them. They had some beef for real. I seen one where he snapped at her. I'm gonna put this one up for now. This could must have them all. I guess this is where we're gonna be.
The fuck I was muted when I've never been a troll in your chat in my life.
I don't even know where to start. Y'all know what I'm looking for.
We didn't get a chance to talk a little bit now about this Groyper angle. We didn't get a chance to talk about it last night, but this was extremely distressing to me and very shocking. Of course, the question which is unresolved still is who actually killed Charlie Kirk.
Thank you for tapping in,
Norm. As we've
Norm.
talked about so far tonight, there are
Appreciate
those
your dumb
that
ass
blame the
tapping
state
in.
of Israel.
Thanks, Diva Mama. Love you,
They
girl.
say the killer's motivation had something to do with the foreign state of Israel.
Looking for those
Some are
recipes.
saying that it is this Tyler Robinson figure, and there's much debate about who he was and what his politics were. Over the weekend, though, there seemed to be a concerted effort to push the narrative that the killer, Tyler Robinson, the suspected killer, was actually a Groyper, a follower of mine, and motivated by far-right ideology. He was the gunman, but he didn't kill Charlie Kirk over transgenders or some left-wing ideology, but because of a far-right ideology that saw Charlie Kirk as too radical. And on its face, this is completely ridiculous. First of all, because the Groypers, the far right, our life's mission practically for the past 7 years has been to debate Charlie Kirk. Groypers are showing up to Turning Point events to ask him to debate me. That's literally what they have done for 6 years. And that is all that they have done, is attend Charlie Kirk's events in disguises, wearing MAGA hats, pretending to be Jews, leftists, Republicans, to, at the last minute on the microphone, say, debate Nick Fuentes, debate, why won't you debate Nick Fuentes? For 6-7 years. That's not the meme, but literally that's the duration of time. And we're going to be respectful about it. We're not going to say 6-7. But for literally 6 or 7 years, that is all that Groypers have ever done, is ask about our differences of opinion on Israel, on immigration, on social issues. Right up until a few weeks ago, there was a recent Turning Point event where one of my followers got to the front of the Q&A line and said that exact same thing. Will you debate Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes? So that's in the first place. Second of all, you have the only evidence about the killer's ideology so far, which is the markings on the bullets. We knew about this on, I believe, Thursday or Friday at the latest. And the markings on the bullet, the engravings, there were 4. 2 of them were furry memes. They were Reddit furry transgender memes about a bulge. That's the bulge that a person's penis makes, a cross-dresser's penis would make.
What?
That is a furry transgender meme on Reddit.
I missed that.
There were 2 political memes, and they could not be more unambiguous. One said, "Catch this fascist," presumably saying, "Catch this bullet, you fascist." And the second said, "Ciao Bella." Well, who would call Charlie Kirk a fascist? Who would even be dumb enough to think Charlie Kirk was a fascist? To the far right, Charlie Kirk is a lot of things. He's not a fascist. To the people further to the right than Charlie Kirk, well, by its very definition, Charlie Kirk is too moderate.
Diva's mom, thank you. Thank you for the donation. I really appreciate the
Our
support.
criticisms of Charlie Kirk,
We're
that he
looking
was
for those
too
recipes. Thank you, thank you,
that
thank
he
you.
was too pro-immigration, that he was too pro-Israel.
Make sure y'all like and subscribe for more, man.
Those were our
I love
critiques
everyone supporting the channel.
of Charlie Kirk. Not that he was a
I
fascist
really do appreciate y'all.
or a racist or a Nazi. Who would consider Charlie Kirk to be too far right? The people further to his right or the people far to his left? Who wouldn't consider Charlie Kirk to be a fascist? Obviously, the far left. And it should be said, Charlie Kirk was not a fascist at all. He was a ballot chaser. He was an electioneer. He was running Turning Point students. He would go to college campuses and debate leftists. That's not what fascists do. The fascist brown shirts or black shirts, they fight communists in the streets. That is what they're known for. Anybody that idolizes the fascists of the 30s or 40s, brown shirts and black shirts, they seize power. They beat communists up in the streets. They use the government to make society the way they want it to be. Charlie Kirk's motto was "Big government sucks." That's your fascist? Socialism sucks. Big government sucks. Free market, free enterprise. That's not a fascist at all. And anyway,
This isn't even the one I'm looking for. I'm gonna find the one where he's
farther
going
to the
off.
right. Our criticisms of him is that he's too moderate. So who considers him a fascist? Antifa, communists. They consider Ben Shapiro a Nazi, and he's a Jew. They consider Charlie Kirk a fascist, and he's effectively a center-right liberal. So it could not be more who's calling Charlie Kirk a fascist? Anti-fascists. What did the second political inscription read? It said "Ciao Bella." What is that? An anti-fascist anthem. Which, by the way, I have never heard of until that was made public last week. I know this is hard to believe, but, Groypers, the far right, we're not really into anti-fascist European LARPing. Apparently that's an Antifa song from Italy from the 1960s. It's an obscure Antifa communist rally song, a very important one for the left, from Italy in the 60s. You think that far-right nationalists, Christian nationalists, are into the Antifa lore like that? Then what does that tell you? It means that So go figure. The two political messages are calling Charlie Kirk a fascist and an anti-fascist song from Italy in the 1960s.
This dude just as born as a damn
People saw the
Like, that's 7 minutes I wasted listening to this bullshit. I get it, but I don't get it. On to the next. How long is this? 4 minutes?
I think all of that is true. I think he was a hard worker. He was courageous. He was talented. I think all of that is true. I think he was a true believing Christian. All of that can be true. At the same time, we all know what he was. And I don't say this to be hurtful, but we all know, why is the whole Trump government going to his funeral? Because he was a partisan for the GOP. Okay, this was a party man. He towed the line on Israel.
I don't know what
as well
Robert's
as
talking
everything
about.
else.
I'm a Democrat.
Let's not, there's a fine line there.
Yeah, it's like I think, and I haven't honestly given Nick Fuentes like a lot of attention. I listened to some of his stuff, some of the racist stuff, right? But I think that's what really gets it. People said, "Oh, he's a great orator. He speaks well. Cool. That's what's up." He hasn't hit my algorithm till now, and that's cool, right? But all I hear is the same shit from anyone else. It doesn't really make sense. It's like, okay, cool, you're going on and on, but maybe it's me. I just couldn't speak. It's two things. One, if I don't fuck with you when we're alive, when you die, I'm gonna say, hey, rest in peace, my condolences. But I'm not going on to try to replace you, be you, and say great things about you, right? I mean, that's what Nick's basically doing from what I've seen, a little bit. But then some of the other stuff, when he's not talking about black people or Jewish people or anything else, it doesn't seem like he has that much fire. It's what it is. So, let's see what else they have. Nick Fuentes. I'm looking for the Nick Fuentes Candace Owens piece where he called her Uncle Tom.
Get dinner. Forget the cameras. Let's just forget all this. Let's just get dinner. Forget the cameras. Let's just forget all this noise. Let's just get out of here. This party sucks. Let's just get out of here. Let's just work out our differences. I don't know. Maybe come back to my place. We have a little drink. What do you say?
I think she's in love with me, guys. I think you saw the look in her eye. She was biting her lip.
Hey, Nick.
Then Candace Owens is making Ethiopian food. She's making fufu.
That's fucking crazy. My dog 3-0.
Now it's just 3. Now it's just 2. Now it's just me.
3-0 black. My dog.
$15. Candace getting ratioed by you makes her want to play in your snow.
Yeah, she's so frustrated by me. She's tearing her hair out.
Candace getting ratioed by you makes her want to play in your snow.
Yeah, she's so frustrated by me. She's tearing her hair out. She's sitting there at her, what do you call that? Like where they put on makeup. What do they call that? But she's sitting there crying to herself. He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. She's obsessed with me. She's obsessed with me. Have you seen this tear she's been on? So she tries to set me up. I bitch slap her. Back in your place. Sorry, but you're a woman. You're not going to tell me what to do. I know you're not used to being talked to like that, but this is a real nigga you're talking to.
Oh.
This is some real nigga shit.
Whoa.
So she has me on her show. She tries to set me up.
See, that's what I'm saying. See, that's what I'm saying. If I say that, I'm going to get people in my DMs telling me like, hey, bruh, for you working with kids and your role in the community, man, you can't be saying the N-word. You feel me? You can't be making videos saying the KNWE grow word. You feel me? But then they got Nick Fuentes out here who's going popular saying anti-Semitic shit. I'm not saying nothing anti-Semitic. They're saying popular racism shit. I ain't saying nothing racist. But then it seems like maybe it's me, right? For any single one of you motherfuckers out there that want to continue to call other elected officials when I post some shit, go down my post when I post some shit and hop in your DMs and go, man, fuck y'all, right? Because you got Nick Fuentes, this half Mexican, half Italian streamer, dropping and calling y'all niggas and talking about Candace Owens is a bitch and the rest of this shit, right? But y'all not protesting that shit. Y'all would rather sit here and talk about Charlie Kirk and find ways to justify if and why he died, right? And now you on with this bullshit, but you had Nick Fuentes, a half Mexican, half Italian, talk about a black woman, talking about some bitch, slap all the rest of this shit, and guess what? He a real nigga. And y'all got the nerve. Y'all motherfucking niggas got the nerve to be in my DM telling me to stop saying the N-word? Fuck you niggas. Make sure y'all call Alan Williams and tell him that. Yo, make sure y'all call Alan Williams and tell his ass that. Motherfuckers. Let me get back to this.
I say, sit down. Then she runs to Tucker Carlson. You know, women are so crafty like this. She goes, okay, and then she goes,
hey, you're here,
to the
Crespo.
burn book.
I'm a zero, I'm a nobody,
Then she
but
goes
you're
on her phone
here.
and she goes, hey, Tucker, let's do a little show about Nick Fuentes. He treated me like shit. I'll go to Tucker. She goes to Tucker. I bitch slap him too. Because she didn't learn her lesson the first time.
Isaac, I love you.
I bitch slap her. She runs behind Tucker. She goes, Tucker, he's abusive. I bitch slap him too. Just on account of I'm a real nigga. Then this week she has on Milo. She goes, that'll show him I'll have on. You think I give a shit? Then she replies to the ultimate seether, who's been obsessed with me for 3 years on Twitter today. She goes, This woman is obsessed. This is like some ex-girlfriend. Why do I have this effect on people? People can never just move on. It's like, look, I'm going to tell you one time, I'm going to put you through the motherfucking wall. I'm going to tell you 2 times. I told her what's up. I said, you are a woman. Make me a sandwich. Now, any normal person would say, all right, turkey or ham. You know, any normal person would say, all right, I lost that encounter. But she, like everybody else, she can't let it go. She's joining the ex-girlfriends club. It's huge. It's still absolutely massive.
His dad's Mexican.
And
his wife's Italian.
yeah,
I mean, his mom's
tell her,
Italian.
hey, listen, let it go. Let it go, okay, girl? My ex, or we're going to have to settle this. We could do this the easy way, or we could do this the fun way. We could do this the fun way. Candace, why are you playing so hard to get? Candace. You've been a naughty. Oh, you've been a bad girl. Candace. What are we gonna do with you? You just won't quit. You just won't let it go. I'm gonna have to come over there and wipe that smirk off your face.
Isn't she married?
No, but it is kind of crazy. She's not gonna win this one though, because she's an idiot. I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of what makes it hot. That's kind of what makes her hot, because she's just like this stupid ghetto little whore. She's just this stupid little ghetto bitch. And, you know, and she wants the white guys. That's the other thing. She loves George Farmer. Wait till she gets a load of me.
Yeah, he said he's single.
You know, she clearly likes the white guys. And we're in this like tension. It's like, I'm this white racist. She's this like uppity black chick, Blexit. She's trying to hide her ghetto accent. Her whole life, she's like, I'm a baller ass bitch. No, I'm not ghetto. I'm actually a sophisticated black woman, you know, but she wants some of this. So I think I'm going to make her lose her mind by the end of it. If the Brigitte Macron thing if that's not evidence she's already lost her mind, I think I'm going to make her go a little crazy. But Candace Owens, what are we going to do with her? It's going to be crazy when we finally have hate sex and we're both transgender.
What the
Dude,
fuck?
what is going to happen when me and Candace finally, we say, all right, enough, and we start tearing each other's clothes off, and we're both transgender? She's a transgender man, I'm a transgender woman. We're going to be like, what the fuck?
Wait, what?
I'm her dad.
What?
I'm her white dad? Dude, that's going to be... I'm going to be her mom. Do you know that I'm actually Candace Owens' mom? I'm Candace Owens' white mom, but I transitioned. I'm Candace Owens' white mom, and she's my son. I'm Candace Owens' biological mom, and she is my biological son.
Like, anybody can tell you, I love trolling. I love trolling with the best of them. I'm probably one of the best trolls out there. There's some things I did trolling people that they made laws for today, right? And it's just unruly to think that. And I'm not hating Nick Fuentes. I just don't agree with his narrative and his bullshit because he's just not right in the head. I'll leave it there. The man's he's just not right in the head. I'm gonna leave it there. I got one more. If you don't know, on Monday in Mississippi at Delta State University, and I know everybody's been on the Charlie Kirk situation, but on Monday, 2 black young men were lynched, hung from a tree in Mississippi. And the police said that they looked like initially, there was no foul play. And it's kind of crazy to even think that 2 people could be lynched from a tree and you say there's no foul play. Well, how did 2 of them hang themselves? You know, let's break it down. But early today, while Kash Patel was speaking, the Delta State University provided an update. Let's kind of see what the update is. And I got to get ready to get my son from school in a minute. So we're about the last 45-minute countdown. If you haven't liked or subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do. Remember, we're opening the smoke detector pack for everyone who's tapped in here. But either way, I appreciate y'all spending the afternoon with your boy. Thank you. We've surpassed over 5,500 subscribers. And again, if it's your first time here, let me make this full screen or full face, at least for me, at least. Hold on, I got to move the OBS up. Boop, boop, boop. In April, I started streaming more on this channel. I really say, hey, Cory Booker was doing his filibuster, whatever. And I said, you know what? I think I'm gaining a strong audience by streaming vertically to YouTube, right? And you're here today off YouTube. So thank y'all for tapping in, because we've grown from 400 subscribers to over 5,500. And I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your day, either on your iPad, on your phone, on your TV, tablet, whatever, watching, subscribing to the channel. But I've also realized that I don't make enough long form videos. I don't have a lot of time. You know, I'm a dad, I'm a businessman, all the other stuff. I had 3 client calls between the stream for whatever it is. So I appreciate y'all tapping in. We've had a lot of people here over the last 2 hours and 45 minutes, almost 46 minutes. But we're going to watch this breakdown next of the police department, see what they have to say about this update, and go from there. Maybe wrap up the stream, maybe not. We'll see.
Breaking news later. 16 WAPT begins with breaking news.
We do have breaking news this morning. Delta State leaders are addressing the recent hanging death of a student. Let's go ahead and listen in what we know about this case.
It was discovered, has stirred many emotions in this community and many emotions around the state and the nation. While the preliminary report of the Bolivar County Coroner's Office indicates no evidence of foul play, we recognize that this is not only about facts. It's about emotions and it's about feelings. And the way this loss and how it was discovered affects people's lives. And I'll further say that I admit that I am not adequate to speak to the imagery that this incident raises. I acknowledge my weakness in that regard. The second point I'd like to make before I turn it over to law enforcement is that the university and I personally have been in regular, frequent contact with next of kin. And I'll say, for those of you who are not used to how universities work, I'll take a moment to explain. When a student comes to this university, or almost any university in America, they fill out a contact form.
Oh, from Mississippi, you're right, News Mom. Thank you for correcting me on that. Thank you.
The student chooses.
I did see 2 different hangings. I thought it was the same.
The student tells us they're next of kin. And from the moment we discovered this, and from the moment law enforcement was engaged, 7:30 in the morning on Monday, this university has been in regular, frequent contact with the next of kin. Now, we'll go ahead and acknowledge that the student always chooses their next of kin. Trey Reed gave us 2 names and the contact information for the people he wanted to be contacted in the event of emergency. And we have maintained contact with those 2 people. And I know this may seem like some kind of legalistic distinction, but this is how we have to operate. This is a choice made by the student, and a choice made by the student has to be respected even when the student's no longer with us. And I also acknowledge that there is a distinction between next of kin and family. And I acknowledge that both next of kin and family are grieving. But from the point of view of doing this correctly and right, and respecting the students' wishes, the university has been and will continue to be in direct contact with Trey's chosen names. And those individuals, they can choose to do what they will with the information and the communication we give them. So I ask everyone to please be respectful in the sense that this was a choice the student made.
Delta State
and the university is respecting his choice. He told us who he wanted us to talk to in the event of an emergency, and that's what we continue to do. And I can go ahead and say that I recognize that there is family, and some family are not the names that Trey gave us. I'm so sorry. We are sharing all the information we can, and we will continue to work through the people that this student chose when he put his name on that form and he said, who do you want the university to contact in the event of emergency? And that's the kind of protocol that almost every university in America would follow. And if we do not follow that protocol, I don't think we're being respectful to the choice the student made.
Everybody tapping in, hold on 1 second. This is the young man Trey Reed. Let me make this, the young man Trey Reed was at, found on Delta State University campus, hung from a tree. We are listening to I believe the police talk about this case earlier. I think the thing that's kind of had some people's feathers ruffled from this is the fact of they initially said it would look like no foul play. And of course, in Mississippi, in a Jim Crow state in the South, if you have a black man hanging from a tree, it just looks kind of funny, especially when it's like, wait, you found him like this and it looks like no foul play. Black folks aren't believing that off the top. And I think it goes to Kendrick Johnson, a young man in South Georgia who was wrapped up in a gym mat, and then his organs were taken out, and all of a sudden, it's there. But overall, I'm not making this about race. I'm not making this about whatever. Suicide is a real thing. A lot of people are depressed. They'll go on social media, the algorithm will show them something, and you don't know what they're going through. And sometimes suicide does happen. And I hope that regardless of it, I'll be praying for this young man's family, praying across the board. But I think overall, after the Charlie Kirk situation, after the HBCU threats, after the shooting at a school in Colorado, the same day the Charlie Kirk shooting, there's something out there that's like, you know what, the world's not okay. And then when you hear something like this again in Mississippi, there's not a good faction of people who are just going to say, hey, yes, whatever. But yeah, they did find a white guy hanging in Mississippi same day. So let's not make it about race. Maybe it's depression. It's sad to see, but suicide's a real thing. I have friends and family who have decided that was the best way out. And a lot of people think different. A lot of people end up getting hurt by it. So it is sad, but I don't think collectively, respectfully to the families and the community, people that want an opinion, that a lynching or a hanging anywhere in Mississippi is just going to go and not skate any headlines. So let's get some news here. And I'm raised until 4 o'clock. Again, 4 o'clock, I'm going to log off. Got to get my son from, it's not daycare anymore. He's in pre-K. My man is enjoying it. So, I got to make sure I get, his snacks, his milk, whatever. I'm a first-time dad, first kid, so I'm excited to go pick my son up and drop him off every morning. But let's get back to it, man.
In other matters, I will go ahead and say that university continues to completely cooperate with multiple law enforcement agencies represented behind me, and that in every request regarding information, regarding evidence, regarding anything connected with this incident, we have been fully forthcoming and will continue to be so. And lastly, I want to say that we have to think about our losses and we have to think about our current students. So we are simultaneously grieving, we are simultaneously processing, and I think every minute about Trey.
Hold on, somebody asked, why aren't I working then? I'm an entrepreneur, I have my own business. And actually, I'm taking time out of my schedule to stream because my clients have called me throughout this stream. And I've actually handled some of my client work because I work till 2, 3 in the morning anyway. Because, when you got to survive and got to get it in, make it happen. So I'm providing for my family one way or another. Appreciate you tapping in those,
But I also have to think about my 2,800 other students and protect them as well. In that regard, we've been very grateful that we have had increased law enforcement presence on this campus. And unfortunately, that's because this campus has received threats. And my message to that regard would be, we have students here. They came here to get an education. And folks who threaten the institution are hurting the students. And we don't want that. We're supposed to be a place where students come to feel safe and to learn. That's our mission, and that's what we'll continue to do. With that, I will turn this over to Chief Feeler, who will address the investigation. Thank you.
Good morning. Delta State University Police continues to mourn the tragic loss of Trey Reed. Our hearts remain with his family, friends, and all who are affected during this deeply painful time. Following the discovery of deceased on campus on Monday morning, and the release of Byron County Coroner's official statement, his body has been transported to the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office. The Chief Medical Examiner began conducting a full autopsy this morning. Preliminary results are expected to be available within the next 24 to 48 hours. This joint investigation remains active, and the Delta State University Police is in full cooperation with all agencies involved. This is an isolated incident. Due to the support of the state and local law enforcement and the increased law enforcement presence here at Delta State, there are currently no active threats to the campus, and the university remains a safe environment for students, faculty, and staff. Delta State Police, in conjunction with the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, Bolivar County Sheriff's Office, and Cleveland Police Department, plans to provide another update once preliminary findings are released and the university officials have met privately with the next today. Out of respect for those grieving, we ask for continued patience and compassion as this investigation proceeds. Again, we extend our deepest condolences to those impacted by this tragedy. Support services remain available for anyone in need of assistance. And again, this deeply saddens us. He's one of ours. And so our hearts go out. We mourn as well. At this time, are there any questions?
Chief, Martin Scott from Fox 13 News in Memphis. First question that comes out is, how was the statement foul play has been ruled out so soon when you just said a preliminary coroner's report hasn't even been released?
Thank you for your question. Again, the statement was initially, at this point, we didn't believe or have evidence of foul play.
Chief Ross Adams, 16 WAPT at Jackson. You talk about, again, the initial report about no foul play. Did you personally put your eyes on the student's body and how can you make a determination by making a physical observation without having any knowledge about what happened to that person's body?
Well, with the combined effort of Delta State Police, Cleveland PD, Bolivar County Sheriff's Office, Yes, did we lay eyes on the student? I did. I was there. I'm one of the first on the scene. And then, again, it's an ongoing investigation.
Okay, but when you're answering my question and you're including all these different agencies, I'm asking about you, the head of the Georgia State Police.
Again, I was there. I was the second officer from my department on the scene.
Yes.
I'm gonna pause it there. I gotta switch it over, and I think it's something to be telling. I have a good friend of mine, a deputy sheriff, a couple of good friends at law enforcement, and I don't think people actually understand what law enforcement actually see every day. Now, imagine you going through your day every day. You see your children, see your family, your garbage, your trash, your neighbors, all this other shit, right? But there are people in the world who actually see dead bodies, and then have to sit there and compromise their mind, their thought process, what the scene is, what's happening, secure the scene, or what it is, all the evidence or whatever. And then they have to normalize the fact of saying, hey, I have to call this family. I have to call these people and be trained in that. And I think there's a part of we don't respect collectively. I think white, black, Republican, Democrat, I don't think we respect the fact of what law enforcement actually goes through. Because not a lot of us have seen dead bodies. I had a homie tell me one time he pulled up to a scene and a woman's breast was hanging off. And I don't mean like hanging out a bra. I mean like it was hanging off the skin, like cut out. And it's kind of crazy to think the trauma that these people can see from inside the jails and these streets, seeing dead bodies, live bodies, people's arms, limbs shot off, whatever. So there's a part of realistically thinking sometimes that it's not normal to see a body hanging from a tree. And even in the question, how do you know whatever? I think even in that moment, it's like, bro, I was the second person there. I wasn't the 10th person. Nobody called me and I didn't have to leave my house to come there. I was, one officer saw it. I was the second man there. And I had the same shock and drama that anyone else would have for seeing a dead body hanging from a tree in 2025. And it's kind of shocking, right? I think it's very shocking. Again, there was another gentleman, white gentleman in Mississippi that was hung, and depression is a real thing. So I'm praying for that family. I'm praying for the students at that campus, his friends, people that knew him across the board, because it's unfortunate when you have someone so young, a college student, that you think that the world is ahead of them, and all of a sudden you hear an unfortunate story about their demise from either suicide or potential foul play. But either way, prayers to the family across the board. Going back to politics briefly, a horrible transition. Y'all blame my head, not my heart. Chicago, ICE. Now, a lot of things been going on. They're going to Memphis, the National Guard being deployed. But this video I saw while we were watching that piece, it talked about a man being deported in front of his wife and kids in Chicago. Let's go here. I may pull some others in and we'll see where we go from there. But I appreciate everybody tapping in today for the stream again.
Some people in Pilsen and Little Village feared that ICE agents would show up at yesterday's Mexican Independence Day parade. They did not. Instead, they appeared in several locations today. An ICE agent tells the couple in the car they need to open the door. The woman replies not to open the door because they're legal. She shared this video she shot inside the car with the Little Village Community Council. Anita Clara witnessed the exchange from the sidewalk. She says they told him to get out of the car, and when he didn't, they started hitting the car. Then he got out of the car, and the wife and kids were crying. It happened late this morning at the corner of 24th and South Albany. Afterward, the wife and two young children sat nearby in tears, wondering where they had taken their husband and father.
He was telling them, you know, I'm legal, I have my legal status, but they didn't care. They
Homeland
just
Security
kidnapped
Secretary
them,
Kristi
took them with
Noem
them,
and top ICE
left no information for the mom.
Baltazar Enriquez, president of the Little Village Community Council, is trying to help get legal representation for those who have been detained, but the numbers are growing. A short time later, just a few blocks away, more ICE agents stop a Venezuelan man, taking him into custody as well. Noemi Rivera witnessed as they brought him in handcuffs to their car. She says, I got very scared and nervous because I saw everything and I shot the video. We made several unsuccessful attempts to reach out to ICE for comment. It was with this backdrop that some Pilsen neighbors are celebrating El Grito tonight. It's supposed to be a reminder for Mexican people to fight for freedom, dignity, and respect. Tonight, that is difficult for some.
Even people that have legal status, we're also fearful.
The family of the man detained earlier today at 24th and Albany is working with an attorney to try to determine where he's being held and whether he can be released on bond.
Another immigration case. I know Memphis will be just as bad next.
Secretary Kristi Noem and top ICE enforcement officials in Chicago today overseeing more immigration arrests.
WGN's Jenna Barnes joins us live with the latest. And how are people reacting over the increase of enforcement and arrests, Jenna?
Yeah, Micah and Ray, immigrant rights advocates gathered here in Daly Plaza this evening on this Mexican Independence Day to encourage residents who are undocumented to stay home as much as they can. They're asking allies to support immigrant-owned businesses as these deportation efforts expand across Chicagoland. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem posting these videos from ICE arrests in Elgin this morning, saying she's on the ground to make it clear the department isn't backing down. Noem writing, DHS took violent offenders off the streets with arrest for assault, DUI, and felony stalking. The scene waking up neighbors around 5 a.m.
It was a military helicopter. And I woke him up and I said, something's going on. I seen a second helicopter kind of duck off to the side, so they were working in tandem.
Monday in Elgin, ICE arrested Aldo Salazar Baena. He was convicted of murder in 2005 and just released from Stateville Correctional Center days ago.
Wait a minute. He was convicted of murder and he was on the streets? Like, and it's not a Democrat Republican thing, right? Again, if you're first time here, I'm a first generation American. My family lineage is from Jamaica. My grandmother came here. She sponsored citizenship for my family, right? 60s, I was in the 60s, 60 plus years later, you know, I'm here. First generation, right? Cool. But I've had family members that haven't murdered people, but they've done illegal things and get deported, right? I don't see how you murder someone and you stay in this country. Republican, Democrat, whatever. And the other part of it is you can be humane about it, right? You can be humane about the living conditions. But I think where Democrats lose people, Republican Democrats and some Democrats and people in the middle is, how do you fight for this? And it's not to make it racial or whatever. I'm not stereotyping nothing, right? It's the convicted murder part. The man is a convicted murderer and he's still in the country. How does it happen 20 years ago? How was it 20 years later we're here? And I think that's the part where we really have to go back and say, okay, what is the real argument and what is the real fight? Yes, there are some people here illegally who have never committed a crime. I understand it's still a crime. Cool. But you haven't committed a crime like robbing a store, killing somebody, DUI. I'm going to leave it there, right? But then you have people who come here legally, who do it the right way. Then they get stereotyped because they are Hispanic, because they are Haitian, because they're black and they look like they're from Nigeria or Ghana or some other country. And all of a sudden ICE is raiding them, asking for their citizenship, right? But then it's to a fact of, we want our communities protected. And I don't think that a murderer, a convicted murderer should have been back out on the streets, whether they're a citizen or not. I get it. You don't want your taxpayers. We don't want our taxpayers' money going to house people that aren't from this country in our jails. We already don't want to pay enough to house people that are in the jails now. Cool, right? Come on, we can't excuse this. 2005 was what? Bush? So this is a Bush era issue. Let's be for real. This goes to W. Bush. So it's not an Obama thing aside. This has been an underlying issue across the years. And I'm not trying to speak as, oh, I'm first generation, my people from Jamaica, you know, I'm chastising or going off on other people because I'm here. Like, no, that's not it. It's a fact of checks and balances, because when my cousins got deported for moving cocaine through America, they got deported. So what are we talking about?
Ago.
You do a crime, do your time outside the country.
Prison officials
That's all I'm
from
saying.
honoring ICE detainer requests.
Grown men, so they knew that it was over.
This man witnessed an ICE operation in Chicago's Chatham neighborhood today. He says agents targeted day laborers outside Home Depot, and at least one was hurt as they tried to get away from ICE. Another military helicopter spotted.
Go after
Yes.
the bad guys. Go after the
You
bad
got convicted
guys.
of murder.
Go
Why are
after
you
the
still
killers.
here?
These guys are just trying to work.
I had a cousin who was here in America, got caught up serving dope, and got deported, and died in Jamaica. What are we talking about? He didn't kill nobody directly, but maybe the coke may have, you never know, right? But if you get convicted of a crime here, I've had my mom's ex-husband. He used to be my stepdad, but his kids were my kids, my brothers and sisters. But he's had his kids get deported for doing like simple shit like burglary, right? Rest in peace, Lauren. Got deported back to London. He was here his whole life, but he wasn't a citizen. Committed a crime. Oh shit. Woo! Bye. And when you get deported from America, you can't go nowhere else. So I mean, it happens. All I'm saying is, if it happened to my family, if I had people indirectly, directly in my family or associate, extended family deported, then shit, deport them all. If they commit a crime.
And emotional video from Little Village recorded Monday as ICE reportedly arrested
Nah,
a
Lil
man
Hawk, let's be
despite
for real.
news from his
Like Lil
wife
Hawk, like
that
I
he's
was
in the
born here
United
too.
States legally.
We already seen this part. Oh, I'm waiting.
Our mothers, our brothers, our sisters, and our neighbors. Everyday working class people whose only fault has been to believe in the American dream.
The Latino Leadership Council speaking out as deportation efforts expand. The Border Patrol's head of Operation at Large announcing that operation, which began in Los Angeles, has officially arrived in Chicago. That's in addition to the ongoing ICE Operation Midway Blitz.
Let me be clear. This is not about safety. This is an engineered crisis, a spectacle designed for headlines.
And that's where, even in the headlines, if that one person they caught is a convicted murderer that was released 20 years ago and they caught again, then it does kind of make their narrative right. Now, to the point, I see in the chat, somebody told me to stop. They were born here too. Like, listen, bro, I get it. But I've had family members deported for committing crimes in this country. What are we talking about? Now, I'm not saying, now, here's the thing. I've had family members who are here legally, in fashion, legally, pharmacists, legally, models. One of my cousins was a bronze medalist for Jamaica in the 80s. Pin relays in Texas, training people like, okay, cool. The people who come here and do great, cool. But then everybody knows. There's some cousins who come here, some people, some family members, they're going to come here and do something crazy and reckless. We can't support them all, is what I'm trying to say, right? After a while, people got to go. And it's like, it's more of a respect thing to be like, you know what? Yeah, I came here, I fucked up. Yeah, I fucked up. Everybody who's ever been deported, in my family at least, that I've been connected to, they realize they fucked up. Everybody else who's coming back and forth, they realize, well, listen, I'm coming back and forth, but guess what? I'm not fucking up. My cousin would literally tell me I love Publix chicken too much to fuck up. What are you talking about, man?
Not for the safety of our neighborhoods.
Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton said during that news conference that one of the people initially handcuffed in Elgin this morning is a U.S. citizen. Now, we don't know exactly how many people were arrested today, but on Monday, Congresswoman Lauren Underwood said ICE has arrested 250 people since Operation Midway Blitz began earlier this month.
And I do think that, unfortunately, there will be some American citizens caught up in the mix. And it's very unfortunate, very sad to see. Overall, I'm not saying it's right. That's one thing I'm not saying it's right. But there needs to be a better process. I've said this on other streams of checks and balances to say, all right, cool. We need, if you're going to be pulling people over and pulling them out their car, we need to have some technology to see, oh yeah, they got their citizen status right now. Because I'll say it like this. If your license is suspended or your license is about to expire, right? You pay the fee, The state knows, they transfer, oh yeah, reinstate that man's license. Don't suspend his license. He's paid it, right? There needs to be a checks and balance process to be like, okay, I scan your license is real, boop, boop, boop. Your U.S. citizenship status is there, we're good to go. You feel me? Next man up. So you avoid the situations. But that's in here to that. Let me get to the chat real quick. I'm gonna get to the, respectfully, I have to catch myself when I'm wrong, right? I said earlier there was 2 young men at Delta State University. It was 1 young man at Delta State University, another man in Vicksburg, a white man that was hung. And somebody did comment, and it made me think to say, you know, only to be fair, for people, 200 plus people that are here, to say, all right, cool, let's at least highlight this story before I get out of here and head to the school, right? But let's hear this story. I believe this is going to segue to the next. So let's hear them out and get where we go.
A life was lost due to another hanging incident not too far from Cleveland. 12 News' Delisha Banks joins us with that story. Delisha.
Jalen, 108 miles south of Cleveland, Mississippi, leads you to the city of Vicksburg, where a second person was found hanging from a tree on Monday. The Vicksburg Police Department responded to a wooded area near Ameristar Casino in the 4100 block of Washington Street a little after 1 p.m. Officials say they discovered a white male who was later identified as 35-year-old Corey Zucatis from Brandon. He was believed to be homeless, and one of his peers found him hanging from a tree.
That's so sad.
He was homeless, but that particular area over there has become somewhat of a haven for homeless people. We also understand that the reason he was in Vicksburg, he's actually from Brandon, but the reason he was in Vicksburg is because he had recently participated in the River Rescue Mission, a part of their dependency program.
Wow, that's so
Other
crazy.
than that, that's all we know.
That's so sad, man.
You know, our hearts and sympathy go out to the family. But we did make that death notification, and they are aware of it. They were aware that he was homeless. And it's just something that, you know, another one of those things that we have to deal with, not only in the city of Vicksburg, but in the state of Mississippi.
Investigators detect no foul play with the death of Zucatis. His body was sent to the state crime lab for further examination. 1st District Illinois Congressman Jonathan L. Jackson, son of civil rights activist Jesse Jackson, spoke out Tuesday on behalf of what he calls lynching incidents in Mississippi. During his speech at the House of Representatives, he demanded a federal investigation be conducted by the DOJ to ensure justice and transparency. Congressman Jackson says, quote, "The echoes of these losses reach deep into our nation's history, a painful reminder that the shadows of racial violence and exclusion have not yet left us," end quote. This matter is still under investigation. Be sure to stay with 12 News as more details become available.
Now, I'll be honest with you, chat, before I wrap up here. Again, I did say it's Mississippi, right? In Mississippi, you would assume that a lot of these will be racially motivated because it's Mississippi, and we have a lot of racial tension throughout the country right now, and a lot of political tension. And rest in peace to Charlie Kirk, praying for his family, you know, for what it is. And I disagree with his political views, but I can still have reverence for life and have a little bit of respect for life for what it is. But regardless, I don't like the congressman's statement because y'all as a chat have helped me realize, 1, it wasn't just a hanging at one university. 2, it was a white and a black man. And 3, something is happening in Mississippi where a homeless man gets hung in the middle of the night and a student at a university gets hung. And all of a sudden, we don't know if it's the old time tale of Mississippi or if we need more suicide prevention in our community. Maybe it's a fact of mental health and the algorithm and all the things we see on social media that we were never supposed to see as human beings is overwhelming some people to the point where they don't want to live anymore. It's very unfortunate. But suicide is also one of the highest killers in our communities today, black, white, American, indifferent. And the city I live in, Jacksonville, actually has the highest suicide rate of any of the 67 counties in the state of Florida. It's actually sad to see that some people would rather not live the rest of their life. And I've had friends over the past few years that have been caught in situations and caught in depression to where they have taken their own life. So we don't know where it is. We don't know what is in people's minds, but let's just be kind. Let's be nice to our fellow people. If you see somebody cut you off in traffic, don't even flick them off or say, fuck you, bro. Just say, all right, bro, keep going. It's all right. You got it. You got it. Right? Let's decompress from the stress. Pray for our people. Pray for your neighbor. Pray for your family. Pray for me if you're out there. But either way, I want to thank y'all for tapping in today. We've done 3 hours and almost 20 minutes on the stream. I appreciate y'all. Let me check my stats real quick. See how many people we've had in the stream today. Hold on. You gotta check the data. Data works, right? Over 300,000 people on the stream today. About 170 of y'all still here with me. Thank y'all. Thank you so much. Y'all giving about $33. I'm not asking for the collection plate, but I appreciate all your support, all your help. And you know what? The biggest thing for me right now is I got to go be a daddy, right? So I'm trying to get out of here, take me in the next 20 minutes, relax, decompress, get some water. I didn't drink on stream today, so I'm a little parched. However, get my kid, spend the rest of the day with him. More than anything, thank you for spending your afternoon with me. It is your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist. Please make sure you like and subscribe. I am on all the platforms: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, HIPHOPLOBBYIST. It is your boy. I appreciate y'all so much, man. Y'all have a great afternoon. Have a wonderful afternoon. Be safe. Love y'all. I'm out.